This is a COD Zombies Hot Takes Marathon. Over the past year, I've been making videos going over your guys' hot takes about COD Zombies, and we went through a lot of them in the past year. Some have been really good that I agree with, some have been really bad that I disagree with, and some have just been obvious rage bait. But which hot takes were the best, and which hot takes were the most mind-boggling? Well, grab a snack, kick your feet up and relax, and let's jump into the hot takes to find out. The first video we're gonna watch is the third episode in this series. It's called Die Rise is Great, and if you haven't gathered enough from that title, this video does have a hot take about why Die Rise is great. So why don't we take a look at why this commenter thinks Die Rise is great? Well, let's hop into that video and find out. These have been really fun so far, so we're doing another one. Today, I am going back into the community tab and going over your COD Zombies hot takes. Some will be good, some will be bad, some will be just outright stupid. This is the third episode in this series. If you haven't seen the other two, I'll put the playlist at the end of the video. And just a forewarning, in case this video ends up sucking because this audio is terrible, this is the first video I'm recording with a new microphone, and right now I'm working out the kinks. It should sound okay, but honestly, either way, it's definitely an upgrade from my last one. I'm not gonna waste any more time because we got 112 comments here. So we got a lot of hot takes to go through. I'm probably not gonna get to every single one in this video. So if you guys wanna see another hot takes video, make sure you drop a like and comment your hottest take down below in the comments. But with that being said, let's get into the first hot take, which is from ZachMain155, and he says, Die Rise is genuinely a phenomenal zombies experience. People simply don't want to put the effort into learning it. So here's the thing. About a year ago, Die Rise was one of my least favorite maps of all time. And then, about 6 or so months ago, I learned how to do the Die Rise Easter egg, and doing it multiple times, I hate to say it, but I have started to enjoy Die Rise. Even though it's not high round, it's just the Easter egg. I can definitely say that he is right to an extent. If I was able to have fun doing the Easter egg on this map, where one of the steps is I literally have to do a loop around the map, hit the mystery box for the ballistic knife, go back around the map, pack-a-punch it, and then go back around the map again and use it in the Buddha room. If that can be fun after a certain amount of time, so can sitting in a corner with the liquefier. Just tweak the audio a little bit, hopefully this is better. Non-Treyarch zombies should stop being overlooked because it's not Treyarch. Infinite Warfare and World War II zombies are pretty solid and good. What? But Exos is decent. I agree with this. Matter of fact, this was a hot take that I had in one of my videos, like 3 years ago or something. I'll put a short clip in right now. It's a damn shame that this is even a hot take to begin with, but 9 times out of 10 whenever I ask people what they think about IW zombies or World War II zombies or Exo zombies, they'll always say something along the lines of, I didn't play it because Treyarch didn't make it. If you don't like it for other reasons, that's completely fine, but don't just sit here and say, oh, I never played World War II zombies, but I don't like it because it's not Treyarch. Give it a fair shot, go into the games with an open mind, and trust me, you will find some hidden gems in these games. But long story short, I've been preaching this for God knows how long, that just because it's not Treyarch doesn't mean it's bad. And nowadays, the opposite is true as well. Just because it's Treyarch doesn't mean it's gonna automatically be good. I've seen so many people, I'm gonna go off on a tangent in COD 2024 real quick. I've seen so many people say that COD 2024 is going to be the best zombies experience. A phenomenal zombies experience that rivals BO3 and BO2. And I'm sorry, I just don't see it. But getting back to that guy's comment, literally that guy, I think Infinite Warfare is a top 5 experience, and World War II Zombies has its moments as well. Honestly, so does Exo Zombies. So yes, I agree with your comment. Nocturne and Toten is actually a fun and iconic map to play, and if you diss Noct, you're basically dissing the rest of the Zombies maps, as it was the first one to start it all off. Now, do you remember at the beginning of the video when I said that some comments will just be downright stupid? Well, here's one of them. Is Nocturne and Toten a fun map? For sure. The World of War version's really fun, the BO1 version's really fun, and the BO3 version has its moments. But the second half of your comment, if you diss Noct, you're dissing the rest of the series, that could not be further from the truth. Yes, it was the first zombies map of all time, but that doesn't mean it gets immunity from being critiqued. You can acknowledge that it's the first map ever, but that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to say anything bad about it. Yes, it was good for 2008, but if Nocturne and Toten released in 2024, how many people do you think would like it? I guarantee you less people would like this map if it released today, rather than 2008. Garad Krovi is one of the best looking but least fun maps to play on BO3. Honestly, I would have agreed with this in the past, but nowadays, Garad Curvy is one of my favorite maps to play in BO3. The Easter egg is one of the only Easter eggs in BO3 that I still enjoy doing, just because I've done the rest of them countless times, so they're kind of boring to me at this point. Garad Curvy still has some difficulty to it. And honestly, at least on PC, Garad Curvy is one of the worst looking maps in BO3. Like, Rev looks better, Horizon Track looks better, Shadows looks better. You could probably say that Zetsubo and maybe the Giant look worse than Garad, but it still is a pretty good looking map. The worst thing about modern zombies to me are the Easter egg songs. Those are always some of my favorite things about a new map, and hearing a sample of what the next Easter egg song was so cool to me as a kid, especially since they were my introduction to rock and metal. And as someone who was living in a Hispanic Christian home, that sound and tone was completely new to me. I feel like the last original one was Snakeskin Boots, and after that, they were all either mid or garbage. Also, stop hating on Cold War, people. It's just great fun, back to basics. Don't worry about the stories or multiple timelines, hours of lores and universes, or hour-long Easter eggs. Just turn it on, kill zombie. Okay, I'm not gonna read that last sentence because it just drove off a cliff. Let me go back to the first part of your comment about the Easter egg songs. I see what you're saying. I personally disagree. I can understand why you think that like Shadows of Evil had the last good Easter egg song, but honestly, I don't think the Easter egg songs really got bad until like Alpha Omega. Then again, on Horizon Track, the map after Shadows of Evil, has one of my favorite Easter egg songs of all time. Dead Flowers, it's like always running. You gotta be in the mood for it, and like, it's definitely different from the normal Easter egg song. Dead End, it's pretty good, and The Gift is really good too. And just like you, COD Zombies Easter egg songs were my introduction to metal as well. To the point where nowadays, metal's probably my preferred genre. And I feel like that wouldn't be the case if it wasn't for songs like Archangel and Abracadabra and Beauty of Annihilation. Alright, we got two comments here, and I'm gonna put them both together because they have to do with the same map. The first one says, Alpha Omega has some of the best lore and intriguing radios of any zombies map. And the second one says, Alpha Omega is easily the best map of all time. Nuketown being a close second, only because of Alpha Omega though. I got a kick out of that second comment, so I wanted to include that real quick. Honestly, I haven't really listened to the lore in Alpha Omega. I just haven't really cared to, you know? All the lore that I need, I get from the Easter eggs. At least back then I did. Nowadays, that's borderline impossible, but maybe one day I'll go listen to the Alpha Omega lore. We'll see. World War II zombies have the hardest Easter eggs ever. They're not the most complex Easter eggs, that definitely goes to BO4, but in terms of pure difficulty, on a map-to-map average in that game, probably, yeah, you're probably right about that. The Final Reich's hardcore quest is fairly challenging. The Darkest Shore, I've said it time and time again, it's an unfair mess, but it's definitely difficult. Shadow Throne's a pretty hard Easter egg. The Tortured Path is really hard because you have to do like 25 steps across 3 maps back to back, and if you fail one step, then you have to restart the entire thing. Really, the only easy quest in that game is the Frozen Dawn, and that's only because you can cheese the boss fight. Buried isn't in the top 20 easiest maps anymore for high rounds. To be honest, it never was. People that say that Buried's high rounds are easy have literally never done high rounds. They've never made it past round 50. Once the paralyzer falls off, you literally just have to start jumping around the map with the paralyzer like it's your exosuit and repeatedly grabbing traps every like 10 to 15 seconds, because that's the only way to kill zombies. Before round 50, for sure, it's one of the easiest maps ever, but after round 50 or 60 or whenever the paralyzer falls off, it's pretty difficult for high rounds. Every BO3 zombies map is easier, mostly due to gobblegums. The sky is blue, okay. Every BO4 zombies map, you can just abuse the perk combos in addition to the Helion Salvo and elixirs and be fine. Yeah, you totally can. And that's one of the things I like about BO4. I know everyone hates the perk system, but it legitimately gave you more ways to play zombies than the old perk system did. That is not a hot take, that is a fact. With the BO4 perk system, you can get to round 100 melee only. You can customize your perks so you're really strong when camping, or you can set it to where you're really strong when you're training, or you can slow the zombies down whenever you feel like it, or get like a mini zombie blood, or get a companion to help you kill zombies and drop you drops as well. With the perk system in BO4, there are so many different ways to play the game, and that's one of the reasons why I like it. Maybe not a hot take, but here I go. From best to worst, the zombies games are BO3, Cold War, BO2, BO4, BO1, Modern Warfare Zombies and World at War. That is a hot take. This list is probably more controversial than my list is. World War II Zombies is miles above BO2. BO2 had Origins and Mob of the Dead, but the rest of the maps are garbage. I mean, Buried makes no sense, Die Rise is an elevator simulator, the small maps were just little custom maps, and what is even Transit? Bus Simulator? World War II had the Final Reich, Darkest Shore, Shadow Throne, and Frozen Dawn, all solid maps with good and challenging Easter eggs. Get used to the armor system and to the fact that it doesn't function like Treyarch Zombies, and you could actually see how underrated World War II is. No. I've played all the way through World War II Zombies multiple times, and every single time I go back and play that game, my opinion on it gets worse and worse and worse. Literally every single time I play that game. For Easter eggs. Playing the map casually is fine, I guess. Maybe on co-op they are, but on solo, no. I'm someone who thinks BO2 is overrated, but there's no way I'm gonna sit here and say that it's worse than World War II. That's insane. The Horizon Drac is an overrated map, and I don't think it deserves a status as an undisputed top 3 map of all time. In fact, I would go as far as to say that it's the second worst or even the worst BO3 map. No. The Horizon Drac is a masterpiece. Objectively, it is the best Zombies map of all time. There is so much replay value. Both the main Easter egg and the side Easter eggs are all simple, yet kind of challenging at times, especially your first couple times doing it. And then you have so many cool tricks about the map, just with the bows alone, like the fire bow shortcuts, and the lightning bow shortcuts, and the wolf bow shortcut. There are just so many little things to learn about this map. And it's not something like Blood of the Dead where it's a learning curve. You might hate it at first, but the more you play it, the more you like it. The Horizon Drac is fun, even on the first go. And the more you play it, and the more secrets you learn, the more you will come to enjoy the map. 9 is boring. I never really liked it that much. The layout is uninteresting, there's not much to the map, the wonder weapon sucks, people say the Gladiator Arena, and yeah, that's fine, but honestly, I'd rather play Noct or Shinonuma than 9, because at least they have good atmosphere. I do think 9 is boring, and I never really liked it either. Even going back to launch, I remember people were saying, because we were getting 4 maps on release, what order are you gonna play the maps? And everyone was like, 9, Blood, whatever, or Blood, 9, whatever. No, 9 was the very last map that I played. I played Voyage first, Blood second, Classified third, and 9 last. 9 never really clicked with me, honestly. It has its moments, but like you say, the layout's boring, the wonder weapon falls off a cliff in like round 50. A special round every 3 rounds is kind of ridiculous, and overall, the enemy spam on 9 is worse than any other Chaos map. But I'd still much rather play 9 than Shinonuma. I mean, let's not get crazy here. World at War is overrated. Noct and Shinonuma get boring really fast. Verrückt innovated, but it's really carried by its atmosphere. I will say though, the weapons are fun to use and Derice is a top tier map. I agree. World at War is supremely overrated. Noct's fun at times. Verrückt is still really fun to play in my opinion. Shinonuma, I just don't get it. Shinonuma sucks. Like, come on, let's be real. The original version sucked, and every single version, whether it be Chronicles, Vanguard, you name it, they all suck. They're all trash. And Derice is fun, but that alone doesn't make World at War like a top 5 experience. I just don't see it. Both Raven and Redwoods and Shaolin Shuffle are top 10 maps. Shaolin in particular has one of the best Easter eggs I've done, and a really unique and challenging high round, which involves doing most of the Easter egg to get the Rat King heart, which is also one of the best equipments we've ever gotten. Before I even get to the rest of the comment, I just want to say, I have no clue what the Rat King heart even does. Like, you know that meme of DJ Khaled, what does he even do? That is literally me about the Rat King heart. I've done the Easter egg on Shaolin like 10 times, and I still have yet to find a purpose for it. But of course I'm stupid, as my YouTube comments tell me, so it's probably really obvious and I just don't know. Feel free to let me know what it does in the comments though. But getting to the rest of your comment, the only IW map that's in my top 10 is Spaceland. Brave looks really cool, but it's not that fun. The Easter egg's really boring, and high rounds just aren't that fun in my opinion. And there's one little thing they could have done to change that for me. Well, I guess 2 things technically, but number 1, add a short little Easter egg or something to unlock permanent rave mode, and take that stupid slasher in rave mode out of the map. Why does the game punish you for going in rave mode by spawning an invincible enemy? That's so dumb. In Shaolin Shuffle, it does have really cool wonder weapons, whether it be the cheese or the katana, or the nunchucks. They're all really fun, but you gotta remember, dude, the ninja zombies are on the map. The enemies that punish you for sprinting, and there's no spawn cap on them. They teleport right on top of you when you sprint and do 2 hits worth of damage. That's terrible design. Shell and Shuffle is like Alpha Omega, where I honestly think if the Nova Bombers, or in Shallon's case the Ninja Zombies, just were not a thing, both maps would be so much better. Probably objectively be like top 20. But their sole existences totally and utterly ruined the map. And the final hot take in this video comes from Buckets2250. Zombies hasn't really felt like zombies since BO4. Cold War and on just feels like a slimmer version of what we used to get. 100%. I totally agree with this. I mean, this isn't really a hot take. It's more of a fact, you know? You compare Blood of the Dead to D-Machine, or compare Ancient Evil to Firebase Z. Like, there's just no comparison. And whether you love BO4 or hate BO4, you cannot deny that the way the maps looked and the atmosphere about them made you feel like you were in an alternate reality, like you actually were in a zombies apocalypse. Taking your personal experiences of the map out of the equation, BO1, BO2, BO3, and BO4 feel like actual places with lore behind them and things lurking in the distance, or in BO3 and BO4's cases, just really magical places. And Cold War, Vanguard, and Modern Warfare Zombies just don't feel the same. The atmosphere is severely lacking. And that's one of the things that I hope we see in COD 2024. The next video we'll be going over is titled Alpha Omega in S tier? As you can get by the title, somebody loves Alpha Omega from Black Ops 4. Thinks it's one of the best maps of all time. And not to play spoiler, but this person's whole list is really wacky. So get ready for this tier list, because no matter what you do, you will not be ready for what you're about to see. Unless of course you have a hotter list. If you do, leave that down below in the comments. We have a lot of comments, let's not waste any more time. The first hot take is from Tyler, and he says, Outbreak Zombies could be on par with Round Base if they simply added zombie-themed Outbreak maps. Still, I would disagree. Even like before we even had Outbreak or anything like that, like in the BO3 and BO4 days when people were saying they wanted an open world zombies experience, I was hesitant on it even then, because I was like, I don't think that's gonna play very well with the zombies formula. And when we got Outbreak in Cold War, in my opinion, it doesn't play well. Even if they did add really cool maps, like they were originally, I think we're supposed to be adding Transit into Outbreak, or maybe that was just a fake rumor spread around, but I thought that was a leak and then it got scrapped. But even if it had really cool and unique maps, like actual zombie maps, I still, with having to do objective after objective, and that's the only way to progress, on top of the maps being really big, I don't even think that could save Outbreak. But again, that's just what I think. I know I'm in the minority when it comes to that, and Treyarch has no problem saying that, because they're always like, oh, Outbreak was the most successful zombie mode in history. I don't care. I don't like it. Mob Spider says, PhD Slider is better than PhD Flopper. It's more practical since you slide way more frequently than you dive. Yeah. PhD Slider in Cold War is better than PhD Flopper, especially paired with Stamina Up, dude. Oh my god. It is so like, one of my favorite things to do is when I load on Malware, I'll go to the Wonder Fizz area and I'll just keep sliding off of that over and over again. Or in the Forsaken room, you can just slide all around the room, like in the Dark Ether area. It's patched, but if I can find a clip of it, I'll put it on the screen right now, because I know I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it, but regardless, yes, I agree with you. Cracker Factor says, Vanguard Shinonuma is the best variation of that map. Eyeball emoji. I mean, I guess, fine. I'm not gonna argue with it, because I personally think every version of Shinonuma sucks. Water War, BO1, BO3, Vanguard, you name it. COD Mobile, actually I never played COD Mobile, but it takes place in Shinonuma, so it almost has to suck. NB Divinium says, casual and hardcore Easter eggs should be in the next Zombies game. The Final Reich adding that was an innovation not enough people talk about. 100%. And this would be the perfect way to end the whole Easter egg discussion. Should they be difficult? Should they be easy? Well, just make both. After all, y'all have had 4 years to work on this game. I know a couple devs were pulled to work on Vanguard and Modern Warfare Zombies, but for the most part, y'all's full attention has been on Gulf War since like mid-2021. Y'all should at least be able to do this in that time. And going back to World War II, it's a shame that we never had this for the rest of World War II. Because let me tell you, I would stay on that casual Darkest Shore quest. Get away from the normal one, because that one sucks. Zach says the VR11 is the most underrated wonder weapon because its co-op use is overlooked. The VR11 is really good in co-op, but the problem is, for people like me that mainly play solo and rarely play co-op, it's literally useless. So I don't think I'd say it's underrated because a lot of people do think about co-op use of it, but you're most likely going to be playing more solo than co-op, so that just makes it worthless. Alright, GD Inferno Boy has the next hot take, and this one is so true it's not even funny. And it's a shame that not everyone thinks this. He says, Deadeye Dewdrops, the perk from Infinite Warfare Zombies, is the best variation of Deadshot we've ever received in any zombies mode. Yes, yes, yes. Deadeye Dewdrops is so much better than Deadshot. Even in Cold War, I think it's better in IW. For those who don't know, when you buy it, it gets rid of any recoil for your gun, so every gun is a laser beam, and on top of that, when you aim for 1 second, you'll get a 2 times damage multiplier, which is just insane. This perk is what makes some of the weapons in IW Zombies so busted, like the Mauler, the VPR, the, crap, what's that one gun called? The G-Rail. The G-Rail, the one variant of it that makes it full auto, and pair it with Deadeye Dewdrops, it is a phenomenal weapon. Same with the EBR even. Like, this perk is just so insane, and it gives you a massive buff on both PC and console, whereas normal Deadshot only helps you on console. Like, it's literally useless on PC. So yes, GD Inferno Boy. Deadeye Dewdrops, the GOAT. Nike says Die Rise is a great map. Its verticality makes it unique. The jumping jack free perk is fun. The weapon selection is the best out of all the BO2 maps, and the Slurker Fire is the funnest wonder weapon in solo and co-op. You know, there for about 8 years, maybe 9, I hated Die Rise. It was one of my least favorite maps ever. But in the past like 6 months, I've went and done the Easter eggs, learned some tricks on the map, and I've done some kind of high rounds. I've went to like round 50, round 60, but then quit after that. And I've come to realize that Die Rise is a fun map. It's very unique, and I used to think that hurt the map, but once you learn to traverse the map with the trample steam and everything, it is so much fun. It really is. My only complaint is that you can't have 2 trample steams. If you could have 2 trample steams, dude, oh, you could just be bouncing all over the map. It'd be crazy. But the free perk Easter egg is cool. The weapon selection, what's on this map that's not on Buried? I can't think. Either way, I disagree. I think the map with the best weapon selection is BO2 Origins, or Revelations. I don't know if I'd say Die Rise is a great map. It's a good map. Or it's not a bad map. There you go. That's good. Tim says BO4 elixirs are better than gobblegums because you can't dashboard and they're not as powerful. They're incredibly powerful if used correctly. I just feel people are mad they can't cheat the game like in BO3. Well, I mean, yeah. That's the whole point to gobblegums. That's why everyone liked them. Because they shouldn't be a microtransaction. They should be an additional setting in game that you get for free. We should not have to pay for gobblegums. They should be free. And a little band-aid solution for that was dashboarding, which is what made gobblegums so fun. If you couldn't dashboard until everyone got mods, no one would have used mega gobblegums. That's what makes them so fun, is that you have an unlimited amount at your expense basically. And if you want to say that BO4 elixirs are better than gobblegums, there's a few things you could say, like always having them on you at all times, but this is not one of the reasons to say that. BO4 elixirs would have been better if you could have dashboarded. The fact you can't really hurts them. Tesco's Wet Wipes has the next hot take. And just real quick, see that badge? See that beautiful little badge next to his name? That means he's a member. And that means that every single episode of the Hot Take series, if he comments, he will be featured in it. Just one of the perks you get when you click the join button down below. Shameless plug over. Tesco's Wet Wipes says, Attack of the Radioactive Thing is actually a good zombies map. People just give up on the chemistry step because they don't want to use their brains. Yeah, I agree. As someone that loves Infinite Warfare, loves Blundell, I mean, not like that, loves BO3, loves BO2, loves BO4, I do love Attack of the Radioactive Thing. People say, oh, it looks cheesy, it looks run down. Yeah, that's the point. That's what they were going for. That was the art style. Yeah, this map is pretty fun for sorta high rounds. Like, I've only gotten to like round 40-ish on this map, and I had fun doing it. couple times I have. And I love all the things you can grab around the map. I know most people hate it. As someone that likes Revelations Easter egg, I can't help myself but to grab all the parts. There's like 30 on this map. It's insane, but you can grab them all at once from the start of the game, aside from like 2 parts. So you can just grab all of them while you're buying the doors. I don't see why it's such a big deal. And the chemistry step. If someone dislikes it, you can't really fault them for it. I mean, it is a crazy step. I actually probably say I would like it, but if someone dislikes it, you can totally understand why. Dominic says, I honestly like Voyage of Despair. I mean, besides the Easter egg, the map layout is pretty good, and how the map was portrayed. The idea of a zombies map on the damn Titanic is a pretty cool idea to me. I agree with this. Ever since day one, before day one even, when we saw all these maps revealed at the BO4 reveal event, Voyage was the map I was most excited for. And all the way to release, to the point where, before BO4 dropped, a lot of people were asking each other, like, okay, what order are you gonna play the 4 launch maps in? Are you gonna do 9, Blood, Classified? Are you gonna do Blood, 9? Which map are you gonna play first? I always, and I did end up doing this, the first map that I played was Voyage of Despair. And I thought it was okay at first, but the more I played the map, I realized it's a brilliant map. It really is. It does flow well with the fast travels. I mean, people think this map doesn't flow well. It actually does when you take the time to learn it. You can go anywhere in the map in 30 seconds or less. Literally anywhere. You just gotta take the time to learn the layout and which fast travels take you where. And the Easter egg. After you get off the clock step, I think it's a great Easter egg. The catalyst step is fun. I do like the planet step. I think it's a great step. And the iceberg step I just talked about in my last video. The iceberg step is fantastic, and the boss fight, I think, is the best Treyarch boss fight as of now and probably ever, because I don't see them trying to top this since they want to make zombies, or at least the Easter eggs, really easy. Jake says, the Tundra Gun is one of the most underrated wonder weapons ever. On co-op, you can charge your entire specialist with 1 shot, and on solo, you can get 50 to 60 kills per shot by chaining the yellow snowballs. But everyone thinks it's terrible. I don't know what you mean by chaining it with yellow snowballs, so you can tell me down below, but either way, the Tundra Gun is a fantastic wonder weapon. Statistically, it's the best weapon in BO4 Zombies. Better than the Hellion, better than the Alice's Annihilator, better than the Magmagat, and people think it does a one-shot. It one-shots forever in normal mode, and I'm pretty sure in hardcore mode too. In hardcore mode, if you don't know, the Hellion isn't infinite damage. It drops off at like round 40 or something, and this weapon took me to round 100. One-shotted the whole time on hardcore mode. Never did it in realistic, but I'm assuming it's pretty similar to that. And people say, oh, well, the Tundra Gun sucks because you need PhD to use it. Okay, so by that logic, does the Hellion suck? Does the Ray Gun suck? Do the Mustang and Sally suck? You need a perk to use the weapon. Guess what? It's called zombies. It's called strategy. That's what you do in this game. You strategize based off your current setup, which perks to get. Like, yeah, okay. I get it. It looks terrible. Terrible design aesthetically. 100%, I agree with you on that. But the way the gun functions, it is by far the best weapon in BO4 and one of the best weapons ever. That got me some dislikes. Alright, we're going back to Gobblegums because Meme says zombies got ruined by them. As much as they are a fun system, it made it so not all players start the match as equals, and that was the point of zombies. I mean, if you don't like that people are using them, you could... I'm sorry, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole, but if you don't like that people are using them, you can either play solo, or I know there's like Reddit communities, or on Xbox there's like Xbox communities. I'm sure on PlayStation there's communities where you can find fans of BO3 that are looking to play. So if you want to play co-op and you don't have any friends, you can always go there and say, let's play some no Gobblegum games. And there you go. Halsey says, the Chaos story should have continued. All the Chaos maps were better than the Ether maps on BO4 except for Voyage. Gross. Hey, no Voyage, hey, come on, please. But no, the Chaos story should have continued. It should have been in Cold War. I would have preferred if it wasn't in Vanguard and Modern Warfare, or it was in Vanguard. Damn it, Treyarch. But yeah, this story should have continued. But at the same time, as good as it was in BO4, would it have been as good if Blundell wasn't working in Cold War? Because it was Blundell's story. So if it were to continue in Cold War, but with Blundell not working on it, and also with Activision making Treyarch release Cold War a year early, and the pandemic, I don't think that amount of time and passion that went into the Chaos maps, I don't think you would have been able to see it in Cold War, or in Vanguard, or in Modern Warfare 3. So as much as I would have liked it to continue, I'm kind of glad that it didn't. So that way it went out on a bang and not just fizzled out because it wasn't given the amount of time and effort that it deserved. Stoab says, if Zombies Chronicles didn't exist, BO4 would be a superior game to BO3. Nostalgia boosts BO3 considerably, but I believe BO4's Chaos maps have better map design and use mythological roots to achieve a more compelling story than the story we received in BO3. Talking about your last point first, I do think that BO3 had a better story than Chaos. Chaos was great, but BO3's story was just peak, dude. You had to be there. Not only for Zombie Chronicles, but also BO3 having mod tools. I mean, any game that has mod tools gives the game infinite replayability because there's infinite maps, infinite mods, unlimited texture packs, unlimited content for BO3. But BO4 is a great game. Me personally, I would say BO4 is like an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. It's a great game. It is. But BO3 is just perfect. We'll never get another game like BO3. Highland Fox says Blood of the Dead is a good map and my personal favorite of the launch maps. Also, just to add to the BO4 hot take, I actually find 9 kind of boring and prefer Voyage. Me too. This is one of my hottest takes. I think 9 is the worst Chaos map. I really do. In between the simplistic map layout and the enemy spam and the wonder weapon not being the best. Like, it looks really cool, but gameplay wise, it sucks. I mean, let's be real. So I do prefer Voyage over 9. And Blood of the Dead is my favorite launch map from BO4 too, so I agree with you there. Sandman ranked every map for us here. Let's check this out. In goated tier, he says Mob and Garage. Okay, fair. S tier, Alpha Omega, Call of the Dead, Fauna Reichen 5. No, 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 and no. Alpha Omega's B tier at best. Call of the Dead, A tier at best. Fauna Reich, same thing. And 5, like B tier at best. A tier, Dead of the Night, Shang, Ascension, Kino, Horizon Drag, Die Rise, Firebase, Moon, Mauer, Blood, Ancient Evil, Buried, Shadows of Evil. Seeing Firebase in A tier makes me want to continue on and go to the next hot take. Why? It's a bad map. Why don't y'all understand? The map sucks. It's terrible. B tier, Rave, Town, Classified, Voyage, Tag, Forsaken, Revelations, The Giant, Darius, Baruch, Transit, Shinonuma Reborn, Zombies in Spaceland, D Machine, and Attack. Yeah, for the most part, I agree with that. Besides the Vanguard one. Ew. C tier, Noct, Frozen Dawn, Origins, Outbreak. Origins gotta be way higher. Come on, dude. D tier, Shinonuma, Zetsubo, the Archon. Zetsubo's a great map. It should not be D tier. No way. No way. E tier, Shaolin Shuffle, Groston House. Fair, both maps are kinda eh. Although I would probably have Groston House in like low C tier, high D tier. In F tier, Nuketown, Descent, Exo Zombies, Outbreak, Carrier, Infection, Shadow Throne, Duran Fong, Beast from Beyond 9, Terra Maledicta, Tortured Path, Modern Warfare Zombies, and Darkest Shore. Why is 9 in F tier? Come on, dude. Like, I know I just said that 9's the worst Chaos map, but still, 9's like a B tier at worst. Can't have it in F tier. Is this bait? Is this less bait? I'm starting to think this is bait. Saying this just to trigger me. Because he has Firebase in A tier, 9 in F tier, Origins in C tier, and Kino in A tier. He has Kino in A tier. Sandman, with all due respect, this is the worst list I've ever seen. Jack says the COD Zombies community is too divided within itself about what makes zombie maps good. This prevents any Zombies game that ever comes out in the future from receiving the praise it deserves. It's why BO4 Zombies and Cold War Zombies are so overhated. People who don't enjoy Easter eggs as much as high rounds and survival cast hate at BO4 for being too complicated, and people who only care about Easter eggs cast hate on Cold War for being too simple. The bottom line is we are in an unsatisfiable community. If it were up to me though, Easter eggs are the most important aspect of a zombies game. If you want repeatable, monotonous, high-round gameplay, go to Subway Surfers. The irony of this comment. But we're so divided now because BO1, BO2, BO3, both communities could play the same game. I mean, BO3 it started to get a little out of control for the casuals, but in a map like Origins or Mob of the Dead, Horizon Drac, the maps are loved by both casual fans and Easter egg guys. And that's because they could satisfy both communities. The maps that they're making now are only catering to one of the two categories. BO4 was catered towards players like me, who love Easter eggs and play COD Zombies way too much. Cold War and Modern Warfare Zombies are catered towards the casuals, where you could just hop on, turn your brain off, and hold your triggers down for 20 minutes and then hop back on Warzone. I don't think the problem is the community. I just think the problem is the devs and how they're going about making zombies anymore. Legendary says 9 is better than Darius. I don't know. They play extremely differently. They're almost impossible to compare. But I do find myself going back to 9 more than Darius, because I'm a content creator and 9 gives me much more stuff to make content on than Darius does. I think I do agree with this. I do. Pod says, Vanguard Zombies is mechanically a lot better than Cold War. There's a lot more in-game progression, and you feel like you're being built up, unlike Cold War, which just has permanent out-of-the-match upgrades, which make you really strong, but you're not really building up in the match of Cold War. It's up to personal preference. I think Cold War does it better, but as far as the perk system goes, if you think Vanguard did it better, fine. You know, I can understand it. I don't like that ritual thing where you gotta go once around and buy one of your random abilities or whatever. I think that's terrible and stupid. And that book thing where you can upgrade your Ether Shroud, that should be in Gulf War. I think it's okay to do that for your specialist weapon. I think that's perfectly fine. Besides that, I mean, I can't think of anything else. I've played like 5 games of Vanguard ever, so you'll have to forgive me for not knowing my way around Vanguard. And the final hot take in this video comes from D-Jack, and he says, Cold War's perk system sucks. Upgrading them outside of your game in a 2-hour grind was a bad idea, and the removal of the perk limit was plain dumb. I easily prefer the other game system, including Vanguard, definitely BO4. Now this is kind of playing off of what Pod Pringle just said in the last hot take, but yeah, upgrading them very quickly outside the game, and it was just permanent. There's a couple things they could have done to get around that. They could have reset it every season like they did with your level during Cold War's life cycle. And also they could have just made it harder to upgrade them. Would anyone have complained? Well, someone would have complained, but would most people complain if they made it like a 10-hour grind per thing to upgrade to max? So like there's 30 things to upgrade in the game. That's like 300 hours of gameplay. Would anyone complain if it was that difficult? I wouldn't, because it'd give me something to do. Again, I don't remember Vanguard's system really for the most part. I just remember you could buy it during the game and it was better than BO4. Yeah, I agree. Being able to select my perks and where I want them was a good idea. I do think that. But yeah, removing the perk limit was stupid. I really don't understand why they did that. What they should have done is make it like a 5 or even a 6 perk max limit, and then you unlock the rest from either the trials or a side Easter egg like there is in Forsaken, or in older maps, Origins, Zetsubo, Revelations. Don't understand why they did that. And I really hope that they change in Gulf War. They do need to tweak the perk system for Gulf War. Will they? Probably not. I don't have hope, but I'd love to be wrong. And that is how I'm going to end this, by saying I'd love to be wrong. Alright, the next episode was released June 13th, 2024, and it's released a couple days after the BO6 reveal event. It's titled, Black Ops 6 Will Fail? BO6 Hot Takes. Now, as you can tell by the title, and you're about to see in the video, some of us were cautiously optimistic like me, and others were overtly pessimistic. Watching this video back now that we've had our hands on BO6 for around a month or so, it's really funny listening to some of these hot takes and listening to what I was saying back then, because we just had no idea how good this game was going to be. But what exactly did we think this game was gonna be? Well, watch the video to find out. A couple of days ago was the Black Ops 6 Direct, and a lot of people, myself included, thought that the game looked pretty good. But with that being said, there are a lot of people that think this game looks bad. So with all the discussion, I put a post on my community page asking for your Black Ops 6 hot takes. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned to my community tab if you want to be in the next hot takes video. But with that being said, let's get to the first hot take. The first hot take is from a channel member, Dark Ops 4. Thank you for being a channel member, but he says they should try a different story instead of the Dark Ether story. Dark Ether has been incredibly uninteresting, and more often than not is the worst part of a modern zombies map. I do somewhat agree with this. Ever since Cold War, ever since they started this Dark Ether story, the story just hasn't connected. And that's for 2 reasons. One, most zombie maps that have released since Cold War haven't been that interesting, but more importantly, and the reason why I think that this might change, is because we never had a set crew so far in this story. All we've had are a couple people talking over comms, and now that it is confirmed that in Black Ops 6 we will be getting a set crew, maybe they'll be able to turn this story around and do something good with it, especially since this is the first game in the Dark Ether story that Treyarch had the proper amount of time to make a game in. But to summarize my point more or less, yes, the Dark Ether story has been very boring and uninteresting ever since it started, but with Treyarch actually having enough time to flesh out this title, along with there being a dedicated crew, I really think this story can see a nice turnaround. Trent Nichols says, I hope Outbreak makes some return. I honestly didn't hate it. Just can take time to get to areas and upgrades. Okay, that was a bit of a word salad. Maps are fire team and objectives can be boring, but if they fix it, I think it could work. I think I do agree with this, just with an asterisk next to it. I would not mind seeing Outbreak return, but it cannot, no matter the circumstances, it cannot be the devs' priority. Round-based should remain the devs' priority for the rest of the time. It would have been fine if they did it in Cold War and then slowly added updates every now and again, but the fact that from February to June or something, Outbreak was the main focus of zombies and round-based got almost nothing, that's what made a lot of people, myself included, start to not like Outbreak. Well, one of them anyway. Obviously, there's a lot of things that were wrong with it, like you said. The maps were reused from Fireteam Dirty Bomb, from Cold War's multiplayer. The objectives got a little repetitive, especially like the escort one and the defense one. Those two are so boring. And that point system needs to go too. If you want us to explore the maps, then you need to make it to where you get more points from killing zombies than you do for completing objectives. Completing objectives should not be the main way to earn points in Outbreak. I'm pretty sure it was leaked that Black Ops 6 will be getting Outbreak in it in some form. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. Like, I don't know if it's going to be something like in Cold War or if it's going to be something completely new. I don't know. That wasn't announced at the direct, so I guess we'll just leave it here. Zodic says, I think it's a good thing that Gobblegums will be obtained in game rather than them being pay to win. Okay, let me stop you right there. As nice as that sounds, that's not how it's gonna be. Let's be real. Gobblegums will be a microtransaction of some capacity. Them saying that they can be earned in game is not them saying that they can only be earned in game. And that's how it was in BO3, that's how it was in Infinite Warfare, World War II, BO4. All those games that had microtransactions, you could still earn all of them without spending a single penny on them. You 100% will be able to buy them. I mean, you technically can already buy them because you get, I think it's 12 free Gobblegums for buying the $100 Vault Edition. So technically, they already are kind of a microtransaction, but one way or another, Gobblegums will be something that you can buy in game. Most people won't, like they did with Gobblegums and with elixirs. Most people will just get them for free, but if you want to buy them, you'll have the option to. That's the beauty of zombies being a PvE game. You can play the game however you want to. If you want to make it more interesting, more fun, you can rock the Gobblegums, but if you want to make it more difficult and you want to have the authentic experience, then you don't have to use them. It just provides more choices to different players, and that's why Gobblegums are so great. Sorry, I just went off on a little tangent there. Thunderstruck says, with 4 years of development time, only 2 round-based maps at launch isn't enough. BO4 had 4 at launch with a shorter dev cycle. Now, you are right, BO4 only had 2.5 years of development, and they managed to get 4 zombie maps out. Everyone was so excited for that, remember? And then launch happened, where none of them functioned properly. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I want quality over quantity. If they manage to pull a BO3, where there's 2 launch maps, one of them is extremely simple, like the Giant, it's a remaster, not much effort put into it, but it's still a really fun map. And then they have the complex map like Shadows of Evil, where it's just so detailed and there's so many secrets, and it's a lot of fun with a ton of replay value, and it's gonna take you a while to master. I'd much rather have that than have 4 okay, not very functional maps on launch. We'll have to see how the game is on launch and how repetitive and how in-depth these maps are. And if it turns out that they aren't very in-depth and they're very cookie cutter, then 100% this is a fair critique to have. But like I said, if they're the quality of like BO3 or even World War II zombies, then I am perfectly fine with only having 2. And continuing with what I was just talking about with the last hot take, the next hot take kind of pertains to that as well. And it's from John Crawley, and he says, if these 2 maps have loads of content and story, the set crew being at least a little funny, wonder weapons that are intriguing and kill effortlessly, and Easter eggs with above average difficulty and good fights, this could be the best zombies launch since BO3. Yes, yes, yes. Like I just said with the last hot take, if these maps are super in-depth with a ton of replay value that keep me coming back for months like BO3 did, then that's all I need. I don't need 4 maps on launch. As much as I love BO4, I would have rather have had 3 or even 2 maps on launch and them being perfectly flawless rather than what they did in BO4. But I have a lot of hope for this game, and one of those reasons is because if y'all look, I'll put a picture of this on screen right now, but in the Black Ops 6 Direct, Kevin Drew had the Gobblegum sitting on 2 books. One of those books is called Thanks for the Feedback, and then the book under it is a Black Ops 3 player's manual. So knowing how much you cared about our feedback, if they actually fixed all the stuff that we've been complaining about and added replay value back into zombies, then 100% this will be a fantastic launch. Harrison says if they don't invent new perks, Black Ops 6 should do what Cold War did with Death Perception and give some BO4 perks another chance. Yeah, I think that would be cool. Yeah, if they brought back like Bandolier Bandit or Stone Cold Stronghold, Blaze Phase, and somehow made those perks runnable, like must runs, then that would be really cool. I don't know if they're gonna keep the same upgrade system that they had in Cold War. I doubt it, but if they do keep it, then they should bring back perks like Who's Who, Vulture Aid, Widow's Wine, stuff like that. The next hot take is from Weaver, and he's a little upset about Gobblegums returning. He says, y'all complained and complained about how Cold War was bad because it's too easy, but now that the overpowered gumballs are back, y'all are suddenly excited again? Make up your mind. I don't get what people don't understand about this. People don't like gumballs because it makes the game easy. They like gumballs because it makes the game more fun with more replay value. It's objectively true. If you have more ways to play the game, you have more reasons to come back to it. And a lot of people didn't only run the OP Gobblegums. I mean, speaking for me, some of my favorite Gobblegums and elixirs ever are the ones that are worthless, like Quacknarok, Newtonian Negation, Projectile Vomiting, Tone Death, because it's just the little things that keep you coming back. Like, Gobblegums are overpowered, but they don't change how you play the game at its core, like what the skill trees did with Cold War, and how Cold War was balanced. Gobblegums are optional. You can use them to be overpowered if you want, or you can use no Gobblegums. You have the option. But the fact is, Gobblegums add more replay value. I mean, look at Codename Pizza's Myth-Busting series. That man literally put food on his table for 5 years just by using random Gobblegums in random scenarios on Black Ops 3. And I don't get the big deal about Gobblegums. Why do everyone complain about Gobblegums? Zombies is a PvE game, so if they bring an optional mechanic into the game that the vast majority of people love, why are you so upset about it? Like, I'm not trying to sound like a dick, I'm genuinely asking. Why is it such a big deal for you? Channel member Nuke Man says, hot take emoji, the game is gonna slap and people will eat their own words. I mean, we'll have to see. Trust me, I want it to slap. Even before the direct, I was like, I want it to be good. I just don't have much faith in Treyarch anymore. That faith has been restored somewhat, but for it to fully be restored, this game has to slap on launch. We cannot have a catastrophe like we did in BO4. We cannot have a Vanguard situation. We need this game to slap, and we need the community back in full force on launch. Dynasty says, if this game is just Cold War 2.0, I'll be happy the game was great, just different. With the way the COD engine is today and how it feels, BO3 mechanics wouldn't work as well. It would make a worse game if they tried to base it off that. Yeah, 100%. I mean, they're on the Modern Warfare engine. They can't just make it like BO2 again. They'd have to get a completely different engine for that. And I'm pretty sure Call of Duty has stated that every single title since I think Modern Warfare 19 will be released off the same engine. That's a terrible decision on Activision's part because it just makes every single COD made by any developer feel pretty similar to the other ones. But unfortunately, I don't think the Zombies team has much say in it, so they just have to play with the hand they're dealt, more or less. I don't know. I'm probably saying that wrong, but he has 3 hot takes, and we're gonna read them one at a time. First, he says, Gobblegums shouldn't have returned. They take away a lot of the challenge that BO1 and BO2 had, as well as making the game less fun. Alright, well, like I said with the hot take a couple minutes ago, if you don't like Gobblegums, then just don't use them. That's what's so great about them. They're optional. If you want to use them and be hella overpowered, you can. But if you don't want to use them, then you don't have to. The game's not forcing you to. The second hot take says Dark Ether should have been scrapped after Cold War. They're all over the place with this story and it's a confusing mess. Should have done a brand new story unrelated to the Ether storyline. I'm going to give the Dark Ether story one more chance. Hopefully they can get this story under control and tell an actual good story, because I read all the intel on Cold War and I did all the Easter eggs and stuff. I just didn't find the story that interesting. And in Vanguard and Modern Warfare 3, when they were both developed in less than 6 months, how are you supposed to get invested in that story too? So since this is the first time of the Dark Ether story where it has a full development cycle, I'm going to give it one more chance and just see where they go with it. Especially with a dedicated crew now, they can make this story good if they try. And the third hot take, he says, they better have reverted all the change they made from Black Ops 4 to Modern Warfare Zombies. Point system, perks, pack-a-punch, HUD, streaks, workbench, loot, etc. All should be removed and the BO3 pack and point system should return. No more 30k pack-a-punch, no more 30k perks. It should be a set price and not increase in value after buying a perk. Okay, so addressing the last sentence first. Yes, I do agree with this. 30,000, 50,000, 60,000 points to pack-a-punch, whatever it is in whatever game, that's stupid. It should not be that much. BO4 was pushing it with 15,000, and y'all tripled the price in the next game. It should just be 5,000 a pack-a-punch. And yes, they should bring back set perk prices, because that added more strategy to the game. You could either buy Quick Revive for 500 points to get a second chance, or you can save up to get extra health with Juggernog for 2,500 points. But the only way I feel like they could bring that back is if they also bring back the OG point system. Black Ops 4's wasn't the worst, since it was damage-based points, so you could still kind of do the old point system strat of shooting a couple times to get extra points, but still it was a major step back from the classic point system. And in Cold War, it's kill-based points, so you can't even do that. You have to fully kill a zombie before you get points for it. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. I really do hope they bring back the OG point system. And just real quick, you say they better reverted all the changes they made from BO4 to Modern Warfare. You can't just make a blanket statement like that. There are some good changes that they made in those games. Like for example, in Cold War, the trial machine and the grenades being super overpowered. Black Ops 4 brought upgradable specialists, which you can feel about how you want about starting with the specialists. That's one discussion, but the fact that you can upgrade them to get extra abilities just adds more replay value to it. Also in Cold War, the alternate ammo type boss enemy weaknesses. That's another small yet very important change. So you can't just say that they should revert all the changes, just maybe 80% of them. That's good enough. Jacob says, Gunsmith is going to make this game unbearable, just like the previous games. No gun should take 50, bad word, levels to be usable. That's one of the worst things about modern Call of Duty, at least for a zombies player anyway. Needing to level up your gun all the way to level 50 to unlock the challenges, I just feel like that's artificially extending the mastery camo grind. Like if you want to do that, just make the challenges really hard. I would rather have a grind like in BO4 where I had to get 3,600 headshots on most of my guns to unlock the other challenges. I'd rather have it like that than just grinding to level up the gun for 8 hours and then I can start on the challenges. Mr. Neon says, bringing back round-based maps will not be the full solution people think zombies needs. Since Cold War, the gameplay formula changed completely as early round progression and using the box was thrown out the window by creator class. Fan favorites like the main and side Easter eggs will never be the same like in BO3, as they opted to handhold players into making the Easter egg more akin to mission objectives, with markers and text-based checklists. As a disappointed fan who never bought COD since Cold War, I have low expectations for BO6 and don't plan to buy it unless proven otherwise. If that's your opinion, that's great. Honestly, this is the opinion that most of you should have. You should wait to pre-order until we see gameplay to know that it is 100% a good game. And this was my mentality for the longest time, since like Cold War's launch all the way until probably yesterday. But the reason my opinion changed is, again, even though we barely saw anything, Kevin Drew put those books in the background that we were talking about earlier for a reason. He wanted to let us know that even though we weren't seeing a lot of stuff, he did listen to the complaints that we had in Cold War, Vanguard, and Modern Warfare 3. And I'd like to think, and again, this could just be me coping, but I'd like to think if he went out of his way to buy a book called Thanks for the Feedback, just to have it in the background so the hardcore zombies community would be able to hunt down this book and figure out what it says. I feel like he was directly talking to us. And why would he feel the need to talk to the hardcore community unless he was trying to say that, hey, this isn't going to be the same game that we had in the past couple years. We actually are trying to make this game more palatable for you guys. Again, like I said, it could just be massive copium on my behalf, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And the last hot take is from Jacob Fleming, and he says, the game will be fun for the first week, then people will go back to playing BO3 customs. I've seen you put this in a lot of people's comment sections, so you seem to be pretty certain about this. We haven't seen that much game footage yet, so before you can just say something like that, we need to see how the game looks. Again, this is not like Vanguard, not like Modern Warfare Zombies where the devs had 6 months to make the game. This is not like Cold War where Treyarch had to step in at the last minute and save the game. This was a Treyarch game built from the ground up. They had 4 years of development. If somehow they managed to fumble so badly that people will stop playing this game after 1 week, then Zombies needs to go away. That's just it. Because if they can't make something good in 4 years, in a whole presidential term, they can't even make a good video game, then they just don't need to be doing it anymore, you know? But like I said in the last hot take, something's telling me, I got this sneaky suspicion that this game's gonna be different. Again, it could just be me coping. I genuinely think that Black Ops 6 will take Zombies into a new and great direction. Now that was fun listening to what we all thought about BO6 and all of our crazy ideas about how the gobblegums are gonna work and everything, but why don't we jump back into old Zombies for a minute? In fact, let's go way back to 2011 with Black Ops 1, because the next hot takes video is titled Kino der Toten is underrated. Not overrated, but underrated. Someone thinks that this map doesn't get enough praise. If you want to hear this hot take or hear his reasoning or hear his rage bait, I honestly can't tell, then here you go. A few days ago, I put a post on my community page asking you to comment your hottest COD Zombies take to maybe be in this video. I say maybe because I let it sit for a few days, let it simmer, try and get some good responses, and we have over 200 comments here. Definitely not going to get to all of them. So if you guys would like to see another episode and not 4 months down the line like I don't know, next week, in the next 2 weeks, leave a like on the video. And just a reminder, the main purpose here is to have fun. Anything I say in this video, don't take it too seriously. We're just having some fun back and forth discussions about zombies. The first hot take comes from Realities, or Relatives, I don't know, I'm sorry. I don't know what it is about me butchering names in this video, but regardless, his hot take says, the KT-4 is low-key underrated. It got more uses than just killing, and it can kill full hordes with a single charged shot. I agree with this. I think the KT-4 is pretty good. Is it in my top 10 favorite wonder weapons ever? Probably not. I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but it is a really good wonder weapon that a lot of people don't like for some reason. Actually, I say for some reason, but I know the reason. It's because this wonder weapon is on Zetsubo, the one map that BR3 fans for some reason have a mob mentality to hate. The KT-4 is infinite damage, so already it is factually better than the Ray Gun Mark III. It's somehow both a really good camping weapon and a really good training weapon. Like, for camping, it's obvious. You just hold down the trigger and shoot in front of you, and everything that goes in front of you dies. But for training, it's a little bit more complicated. If you shoot a charged shot of the Masamune on the ground, and you run through the charged shot, you'll see that you get a speed boost for it. So, with this speed boost, you can train up the zombies, shoot a charged shot in front of you, and run through it to get a speed boost and kill everything that way too. There is so much versatility to be had with the KT-4, and the fact that more people don't like it is honestly pretty upsetting. The next hot take comes from Chicken, and he says, for especially Treyarch developed games, there has never been a bad zombies experience. From Water War to Cold War, it's all levels of good to amazing. From Water War to Cold War, yeah, I guess you could say that. In that stretch, there hasn't been a bad zombies game per se, but there have been a lot of bad zombie maps. You have maps like Transit. You have maps like, some people might say Voyage of Despair. I would say Firebase Z. So even though overall these games might be good, there are definitely a lot of bad things in them. The next hot take comes from Job Vane, and it is a pretty hot take, and I want to talk about this real quick because I do partially agree with it. He says, the Garad Curvy Easter egg is still to this day the best Easter egg Treyarch has ever designed. The only bad step in it is the Valve step. I wanted to talk about this because I've had a love-hate relationship with this Easter egg over the years. When it first came out, I thought it sucked. I thought the boss fight was cool, I thought the general map was fun, but I did not like the Easter egg. From the Valkyrie escort to the Mangler escort, and you also had the Valve step. For a new player, this Easter egg can be a little overwhelming, especially on launch whenever we didn't have some really good Easter egg guide, like, I don't know, the one I made. Sorry, I had to put that in there. But I thought this Easter egg sucked for a long time until around about, I'd say 2 years ago, maybe 3. But when I was making my Easter egg guide, and I actually took the time to learn how all the steps worked and easy ways to beat them, I actually find this Easter egg pretty fun now. Especially since I don't even rely on gobblegums no more to beat it, like Idolize, Undead Man Walking. I don't need those no more. You just give me the Ray Gun Mark III and I'll be good. And while I do think some steps in this Easter egg are still pretty annoying, like the Valve step and the Mangler step randomly glitching out, having an invisible Mangler. Stuff like that's really annoying, but for the most part, I do think this Easter egg is pretty good. Would I say it's the best? No. Definitely not. But it is an S tier quest. If not S tier, then like high A tier. Mob of the Dead has the best game over song. It's really good, but I disagree. I think Shadows has the best game over song. But also, don't forget about Die Rise. When it has the Warden stomping, closing the cell. Oh god. Chills. Gets me chills every time. Jacob says, BO4 Gauntlets, in my opinion, are the best non-classic zombies game mode to exist. Also, the realistic difficulty is extremely fun and it forces you to play and think better as a zombies player. P.S. Both of these need to come back. I would like to see realistic come back. Realistic was fun. It was. And you are right about that. It made you play the game differently and think about it differently. And it has made me a better zombies player. If you don't believe me, go watch when I I did lose my mind doing Blood of the Dead's Easter egg on Realistic. Still to this day, one of my favorite videos that I've ever made, even if the mic quality is really bad. But the Gauntlets, I disagree. Gauntlets could have been good. They could have been. But if you didn't look up a guide ahead of time, you weren't going to be able to beat it with no strikes. Like, you had to look up every single round and what it was ahead of time and plan ahead of time because the game just doesn't give you enough time and enough notice to do whatever it's asking you to. You had to play the game whatever way Treyarch wanted you to, or else you were not going to beat it. Like, if you looked up a guide, yeah, that's one thing. But I like to go into things blind, you know? Get my raw, initial, untainted opinion on it. And that's borderline impossible on Gauntlet, especially like Unsinkable Hard, Labors of Hercules. A lot of the Gauntlets just are not fun. They're just doing the same ridiculous challenges over and over again. One that I'll never forget is about the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's on, I think, Alpha Omegas. Alright, no, I just found it. It's on the 9 Gauntlet. Round 26, Weapon Roulette. Your guns randomly swap and all buys are disabled. So whatever your setup was now, Max Hellion, Wonder Weapon, more than likely the Mog 12, because you had to use it in 2 rounds already in this Gauntlet. But in round 26, your weapons will randomly swap to unpack-a-punched weapons, pack-a-punched weapons, and whenever you end the round, you will stick with whatever guns you have. And then on the very next round, they want you to go get the Mog 12 again on round 27 and kill with it. The only problem is the Mog 12 sucks, and it can barely kill zombies on round 27 pack-a-punched. Yet they want you to go buy it mid-round, run down to the temple, pack-a-punch it at least once while zombies are already attacking you, and you can't melee, you can't pull out your shield, you can't throw wraith fires, you can't do none of that because you're only allowed to use the Mog 12. It's just stupid stuff like that ruined Gauntlet. If they actually tried to make an enjoyable experience, then yeah, it would have been fun. But it's almost like their only goal in this mode when they first set out to make it was to make people as miserable as possible playing zombies. And that might seem blasphemous coming from the BO4 fan, but I could go the rest of my life without ever playing Gauntlet ever again. The next hot take comes from Jeter, and oh boy, get the dislike button ready now, because he says, Buried is the greatest zombies map of all time, the GOAT. No map can ever compare to the masterpiece that Buried is. Although Buried is really cool and really unique, the map is extremely dated, and it really does show. People think that Shadows of Evil is tedious to unlock everything in the map, but literally when you play Buried, you have to walk Leroy around the map and have him unlock everything, one thing at a time. In case you haven't played Buried, let me explain to you the process of unlocking stuff. To unlock anything in Buried, whether it's a perk like Juggernog or Vulture Aid, the well, any barriers, if you want them to lock the box or build any buildables or anything really, you have to go to the saloon and grab some booze, or the candy shop and grab some candy. You have to go find Leroy, knife him so he'll run, and keep knifing him every 3 or 4 seconds so he'll keep running. Because for some reason they thought when you knife Leroy once, you only want him to run for 3 seconds, of course, right? So you have to knife Leroy 10 times until he finally gets to around where you want him to be and what you want him to break, and then you give him the candy or booze so you can destroy it. Then you run back to the candy store or the saloon and do that whole process over and over and over and over again. It is so boring setting up on Buried. And I'm not a Buried hater. I am not. But I really don't get why some people think it's top 3, top 5, or in Jeter's case, the single best map of all time. And besides that, for the buildables, we're still using the BO2 Victus part system. So if I want to build the trample steam, but you're holding the flag, I can't build it until you go place the flag down at the crafting table. I mean, it's just little things like that that really show this map's age. And I know I'm in the minority with this, but I think Buried's a B tier map at best. It has its moments. It's definitely not a bad map, but it's just not a map that I can go to and play more than twice a year. For me personally, if you gave me BO2 Zombies and said I could either play Buried or Die Rise, I would, honest to God, probably pick Die Rise. Probably. And here's where you dislike. Menobot says, the Darkest Shore has one of the best Easter eggs ever made. No, the zombies community is addicted to hate and is jumping the gun on BO6 already. They completely forgot about Terminus, which looks fantastic after we saw Liberty Falls gameplay. We know that we didn't see all Liberty Falls has to offer. Yeah, I mean, he's 100% right. I think it is way too early to start casting hate on BO6 zombies. I mean, none of us have even played it yet. Did Liberty Falls look a little lackluster? Yes, it for sure did. But if there's one thing I've been learning so far in paying attention to how the Treyarch Zombies dev team is going about BO6 zombies, is that they're trying to make the game accessible still, but also make it really good for hardcore players that have been around since the very beginning. One of the phrases I keep hearing Kevin Drew throw around is easy to pick up, hard to master. And that's what COD Zombies should be. BO3 Zombies was easy to pick up, hard to master. You could pick it up, play with your friends, unlock Pack-a-Punch on most of the maps without a guide. But if you wanted to go the extra step and dive into the proverbial rabbit hole, you could. You could get into the Easter eggs, you could get into super high rounds, and on launch on BO3 we had the same thing. We had Shadows of Evil, which was a pretty complex map, and then we had the casual map, the bonus map, the giant. That's just there for camera grinding and for people that don't want to play Shadows of Evil and unlock everything, every game. I really feel like BO6 is going to be the same way, maybe not to that extent, where like Terminus has like 30 things you have to grab in like a second form or something like beast mode. I don't think none of that's gonna happen. Going off of what they've been saying, Terminus is the complex hardcore zombies map, and Liberty Falls is like the camo grinding casual map. And also, it's like you said, we didn't even see all of Liberty Falls. All the Easter eggs and stuff were disabled. So, I mean, how can you judge it really, you know? And even if both maps are like piss easy on launch, which I don't think Terminus will be, but let's go down the road and pretend that it will. They've already confirmed that we will be getting a third, count them, 1, 2, 3, a third zombies map before 2025. If they can keep on this trajectory, it really does seem like Black Ops 6 is gonna be a really action-packed year. And even then, if zombies ends up sucking, I at least got the multiplayer because I played it at the beta, and I love the multiplayer. So it looks like I'll be on COD regardless this year. Going from BO6 to Cold War though, our next hot take comes from Tomer? I don't know. He says, Cold War Zombies is the most replayable zombies game. The skill trees and exfils help as well. The overall mechanics of the game were also new at the time, making it fun to play as well. You do have a point to an extent. Like, you're not totally wrong. The skill trees were really cool, exfils were really cool, and some of the new mechanics were pretty good. But what you're overlooking is the fact that skill trees are permanent upgrades. And to get these permanent upgrades, you had to unlock Ethereum crystals. And to get these, you unlocked them basically for doing anything. You survived a round 5, you got a crystal. You exfilled, you got a crystal. You built a wonder weapon, you got a crystal. They just handed them out like they were candy. So for most people, they had all the skill trees upgraded by like 3 or 4 hours of gameplay in. There's no prestige reset like there is in other games. There's no way to unupgrade them, so you're just stuck with the really OP buffs. And say what you will about, oh, well, Gobblegums do the same thing. At least you could take them off and run classics or no Gobblegums. Or even not as OP Gobblegums. But with Cold War, you don't have that option. You want to play a match where you don't one knife automatically until round 10 because you have the Bowie knife equipped in your starting loadout. You can't do that. You want to unupgrade stamina up so it doesn't have permanent sprint duration, and you want to unupgrade PhD so you get no fall damage. You can't do that. You can't make the game harder for yourself. Once you upgrade them, you are unfortunately stuck with the upgrades. And exfils are cool, but I feel like they happen too often. Like, I think they ought to happen like once every 10 rounds starting at round 20. If you exfil at round 10, I mean, that's kind of pointless. You're not really jumping into zombies, you know? And again, every 5 rounds, especially in the lower rounds, every 5 rounds is like 10 minutes of gameplay. So, I mean, you can't play 20 minutes to get another exfil. Does it have to be in my face constantly? But the mechanics thing, I've went over it ad nauseum in this series already, so I'm not going to go too in depth with it. But mechanics in Cold War I don't like are stuff like the armor system. I prefer the shield system over it. I prefer the OG point system and the OG Wonderfist / perk system over what we have in Cold War. I'm not a huge fan of the weapon rarities, and of course starting off with whatever weapon you want, combined with the really bad point system, just makes early rounds really, really boring. Exo Zombies is the best zombies. Again, no. I'm sorry, am I being too harsh in these videos? I feel like I kind of am. Sorry. Alright everyone, brace yourselves. You might get a kick out of this next one. He says, Kino der Toten is underrated. It's a great introduction map for newcomers to learn how to use their space to train zombies and get to at least the mid-20s. I mean, two things can be true at the same time. It can be a fun introduction map for players, but also be massively overrated. If you ask all the casual people what their favorite zombies map is, you know what they're gonna say? Kino. So if like at least half of the community is saying it's the best map of all time, it cannot be underrated. No way. And like I said, even though it might be a fine introduction map, I feel like there are better maps that introduce you to the world of zombies. Maps like Der East, maps like Town from BO2, or even, for all my problems with it, Ascension. Joe says, some people take the max ammo efficiency trick way too seriously. If you don't reload and grab the max ammo at round 10 to 15, you're most likely gonna get another one before you actually run out of ammo. Not only that, but people for some reason think that if you reload before you grab a max ammo, you'll never run out of ammo. And that's just not the case. All the time in public matches, people will be like, you have to reload. Why'd you grab it before I reloaded? Dude, you'll be fine. Especially when these people have like a wall gun or something, like the STG-44 or something. Like, you can just buy ammo. Like, is it a tip to get more ammo? Of course it is. But it is not the matter of life or death, which is what a lot of people make it out to be. And I'm really glad they ended up getting rid of this because I was so tired of hearing it. Shout out Black Ops 4 taking away one of the most annoying things ever in zombies. Kosei says, people need to stop hating on games and maps that they themselves haven't played yet and should form their own opinion by actually playing it. Now I know this kind of coincides with the hot take we just covered a couple minutes ago, but I wanted to go over this again because what he said at the end here, you should form your own opinion by actually playing it. This applies to more than just zombies. This applies to anything in life, really. Don't just go with whatever the popular opinion is. If you don't have an opinion on something and you're just saying whatever everyone else is telling you to, stop it. Do some research and then come to your own opinion from there. We rely too much on other people's opinions. And to take this back to video games, people say, oh, Black Ops 4 Zombies sucked. Okay. Well, did you play it? No, but I saw Noah play it. Okay, well, why are you making your own opinion based off of someone else's experience? I mean, if I went off this rule and I just lived off of other people's experiences, y'all wouldn't know who I am today. Because if I just went off of other people's experiences, I would have never made my Blood of the Dead realistic completion video. And without that video, I doubt I'd be anywhere near the size I am today. Now, of course, you shouldn't follow this rule 100% of the time. If you look at a trailer, like Vanguard Zombies trailer, and it looks like they spent 2 weeks putting it together, and you feel like you shouldn't buy it because it looks really bad, that's fine. But for something like Black Ops 6, they've obviously shown that they've put effort into this game. They've made 2 zombie maps, and they're both fucking massive. They're saying that we're getting harder quests than Cold War, harder high rounds than Cold War. I mean, just going off of what they've told us, you cannot write this game off yet just after seeing one trailer. And if you don't want to buy it, that's fine. Wait for an open zombies weekend. They will do it eventually. Wait for a free weekend and try it out there. And the last hot take is from Mart, and he says, every single map remade of BO4 Zombies is better than the original. That is an extremely hot take that not even I agree with. But let's break it down real quick. Blood of the Dead versus Mob of the Dead. Most people would say Mob is better. This is actually one of the few instances where I think the remake is better than the original. Both maps are in my top 10. Matter of fact, they're side by side. But if I had to pick one over the other, I would pick Blood. Classified versus 5. This is a no-brainer. I mean, in my opinion, 5 easily wins this. About the only thing that Classified has going for it is the graphics. You give me the Classified graphics on 5, that would be like the perfect survival map, I feel. Alpha Omega versus Nuketown. I feel like Alpha Omega is objectively better than Nuketown. I mean, if you want to play just classic Nuketown and Alpha Omega, you literally can. But there's a whole other experience to be had on top of that. And finally, Call of the Dead versus Tag der Toten. I used to hate Tag der Toten, but I don't really anymore. But it's still not better than Call of the Dead. Alright, to finish off the video, we're gonna go over some members' hot takes. If you're a member and you comment a hot take, you're guaranteed to be in these videos. The first one is coming from Dark Ops 4, and he says, the BO4 perk system was close to perfection. Being able to choose what I wanted within a limited amount is far better than having all perks and being a god in zombies. Even if this were expanded to 5 perks, I'd be happy, since then you could have 4 perks and a 5th as your bonus. You could also just earn the perks for free or extra slots in game, so you're not stuck with those 5. I'm gonna get massacred for this. Wish me luck, boys. Hot take emoji. Although I don't dislike the BO4 perk system, it's not close to perfection. I mean, come on now. I think the modifier system was really good. I think if they made it 5 perks and gave each perk the modifier, but instead of just getting it automatically, you had to go make a second purchase for it, I think that would have been great. Either way, the BO4 perk system was overhated, but I do think it was a step down from what it worked to BO3's. Jabot says, BO4 is not a bad game. It's a flawed game, but the Easter eggs are relatively simple, except for Dead of the Night, and has a good specialist system. Even elixirs and the perks are really nice, even though I do have complaints. Also, I hate the power room step on Blood. So do I. So do I. I mean, obviously, if you know me, you know I'm gonna agree with most of this. I don't think BO4 is a bad game. It does have its problems, but overall, I feel like it's a pretty well-rounded game. You can have a fun time just casually killing zombies. You can have a fun time doing Easter eggs. You can have a fun time going for side quests. And there are a bunch of cool Easter eggs on various maps that can carry you to high rounds. Like, for example, the spork knife on Blood of the Dead and the infinite ammo Easter egg on Dead of the Night. But yeah, again, finishing it off the way I started it, the power room step on Blood does suck. It's one of my least favorite steps in the zombies Easter egg, and in my opinion, it's the only bad Easter egg step in Blood of the Dead. Nukeman says Mauer der Toten is a top 5 map. Alright, Nukeman, I totally disagree with this, but feel free to elaborate down below in the comments. Would it be in my top 15? Probably. Pod Pringle says, I've really come around to Cold War lately, and I think there is a lot more reasons to come back to it over BO3. I find BO3 and the constantly long setup annoying to do these days, and BO4 setup is a bit more baked into the natural progression, which is why it's not a big problem compared to BO3. For the main quests and stuff, you do have a point. But just to play the map basically, it's honestly not that different from like a BO4. Like the Rise and Drag to unlock Pack-a-Punch, it's simple. You go around the map, hold X on 3 machines, and you're good to go. On Zetsubo, it's relatively straightforward. You grab 3 parts in the bunker, and you drain Pack-a-Punch. And Garad Krovi, it's pretty simple too. It's like a slightly more complex Duries. You get a code, you put it at one of the 3 teleporters, or in this instance, the Dragon Stations, and then you go defend a Groff module. And Revelations is kind of like a more simple Origins. You go around the map, and you interact with 4 generators and just don't die on them for 10 seconds. I don't know. I just find Cold War extremely boring in the low rounds. Nick says, Garad Krovi is the best zombies map and the Raygun Mark III is a very fun and unique wonder weapon. The Dragon Gauntlet is the best special weapon in BO3. The Easter Egg is very underrated. The Dragon Shield, okay, Nick. Use some commas next time, please, my man. Please. The Dragon Shield is the GOAT, and finally, the map feels like a BO1 map in BO3, which I love. We went over this already in this video. Garad is not the best zombies map, at least in my opinion. The Raygun Mark III is a pretty fun wonder weapon, but it falls off way too quickly. It falls off in like, what, round 40, round 50? It should at least carry you to round 100, if not, be true infinite damage. The Dragon Gauntlet is really cool, but it pales in comparison to both the Ragnaroks and the Skull and Sapway, so top 3 ain't bad, but it's definitely not the best. And the Easter Egg is very underrated. The Easter Egg is pretty good now for the most part, but still that Valve step is a serious pain in the ass to do. And you say it feels like a BO1 map in BO3 what you love? Yeah, there are some aspects of like a simpler BO1 in here. You have stuff like what I said with Pod Pringle, like setting up, like getting Pack-a-Punch is just defending 3 Groff modules basically. You get the wonder weapon straight from the box. There are a lot of very simple aspects of this map. And finally, the last hot take we'll cover in this video comes from Jin Dokkan Champions, and he says, Black Ops 4 Zombies having 2 separate stories, especially focusing on the Chaos story first, is the reason why Black Ops 4 didn't do well. I have a better appreciation for the Chaos story now, but I think that plus the bad launch killed BO4 Zombies early. I mean, look how rushed the last 2 maps were. You were 100% on point with this. This is probably the best hot take in this video. I've been saying it for a long time. There are 2 major reasons why BO4 failed, and that's because of the very rocky launch and them shoving Chaos down everyone's throats whenever Ether was nearing its end. I really don't get why they didn't just give us Ether on release, and then once they finish the Ether story, then they start the Chaos story. And also, if they did it that way, they would have only had to make 2 zombie maps on release, which means the game wouldn't have been as crashy and buggy as it was on release. So I feel like if they just put their main attention on Ether, then BO4 would have had the 3-year life cycle that it was originally expected to. You say, look how rushed the last 2 maps were? Yeah, I mean, there's no cutscenes for them. The ending of Ether, you know, like the most important thing that you could possibly think of in zombies, the ending of a 10-year story, didn't have no actual cutscenes and instead had like the cartoon style ones. The wonder weapons and Tagged or Toten really don't feel fun to use. There was a lot of scrapped content in those maps, and there was scrapped Ether maps on top of it. Yeah. Thanks, Jen. You just got me depressed. Every time I go down this rabbit hole in my head, it's like, just imagine what BO4 could have been. It makes me upset. So on that very sad note, we're gonna end this hot takes video. So how about Kino being underrated? In all seriousness, I bring that up because I wasn't paying attention until I just made this video, but the next episode's title actually says the opposite of that, and it says, Old Zombies is boring. What does he mean by that? Does he mean World of War is boring? Does he mean BO1 is boring? Does he mean everything before BO3 is boring? What does he think? Let's watch the video and find out. Alright, we're back with another hot takes video. What is this, the 5th one in this series? 6th? Something like that. It's the 2nd one this month though, or the 2nd one in 1 month, I should say. You guys really hit it out of the park with the last episode. So I said, since you all did so good with the likes and everything, we're gonna do another one really quick. So 2 weeks ago, I put out a post on my community page asking you to comment your hottest COD Zombies take, and yeah, it's quite a few. We have enough here. I honestly might make a 2nd video out of the rest of the submissions. We'll see. I'll do a 2nd one with those submissions if this video does good. So if you want to see a part 2, drop a like. The first hot take of the video though is from Gavin, and he says Origins is not the best zombies map of all time. The RNG removes a lot of the fun from it. You can have a smooth run with no flaws, or a complete shit show just because the numbers weren't in your favor. It's mainly an Easter egg problem, but that's what I find most enjoyable about zombies. Horizon Drac and Shadows are significantly better based on their lack of randomness. I love Origins. I think Origins is great, but I do agree that I think it's not the best zombies map of all time. I did think this was the case about 10 years ago, but ever since Shadows came out, that has been my single favorite zombies map of all time. And Horizon Drac was a close number 2 with Origins for a long time, but a couple years ago, it overtook Origins. So right now, my top 3 goes Shadows, DE, Origins. I can only think of one thing in Origins Easter egg that would really ruin your game. Well, I guess 2 if you're playing BO3. 1 is the Rainfire step, obviously. You can either get that step done and over with in like 30 seconds, or it'll take you 30 minutes like it has taken me before. One time, it's taken me as long as an hour to do. Matter of fact, do I still have the gameplay of that? Let me see. I highly doubt I do, but yeah, I do have the footage. Oh my god. This step has literally taken me an hour to do before. This step alone, just waiting for the RNG. So if you get bad RNG on the Rainfire step, it can definitely ruin your experience on Origins. But how often are you going to have a 1 in 3 chance not go in your favor 5, 10, 20 times in a row? The other step that could be really RNG dependent is the Ascent from Darkness step if you're doing it on BO3, or if you're doing it, I guess, on BO2 too without a glitch. But yeah, just waiting for the robots to keep coming through so you can put the staffs down, that can definitely eat up your time too. Especially the Rainfire step. If you get bad RNG on it, there are few things in zombies that are worse. Fry says, Damned from Vanguard, hear me out, is a top 2 out of all Damned themes, and when that beat drops, it goes so hard. It's got a nice little horror vibe to it with the violin, and then it gets faster while somehow maintaining the creepiness factor. I was just talking about this in my Every Song Ranked video. The one good thing about Vanguard Zombies was Damned. I feel like Damned is one of those songs where no matter how hard you try, it's almost impossible to mess it up. Well, I guess unless we're talking about Black Ops 4 Damned. Still don't know why that was ever in the song, but Damned from Vanguard, it is a pretty good song. But every time I hear it after I listen to it for about a minute, it reminds me just how bad we had it about 2 years ago in this community. The state of COD Zombies was so rough back then. So I don't find myself going back to it often, but when I do, it is a banger until I get PTSD. Khike08 says, Black Ops 3 is massively overrated. It takes up way too much space on consoles, it isn't accessible to new and casual players, and it's easily outclassed by Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 4. Okay, it takes up way too much space on consoles. Most Call of Duties take up way too much space on consoles. This is not a BO3 exclusive thing. Infinite Warfare, World War II, BO4, every Modern Warfare, like, of the past 5 years, Cold War, they all take up almost 100 gigabytes, if not more, which is pretty outrageous, but this is not a BO3 exclusive problem. Again, this has happened on basically every Call of Duty since the PS4 and Xbox One came out. And then you say it isn't accessible to new and casual players? That's kind of debatable. I think it is pretty accessible because, I mean, you don't have to do quests to get into COD Zombies. Get the power and Pack-a-Punch. That's all you need for a first-time player. And for most of the maps in BO3, you can do that without a god. You can do it on the Giant. The Giant is just a power switch and linking 3 teleporters. Horizon Drac is just turning on the power and teleporting 3 Pack-a-Punch pieces. Zetsubo, it's a little more complicated. For power, you gotta turn on 2 temporary powers and then a 3rd power switch in the bunker, and for Pack-a-Punch, you gotta grab 3 parts. For Garad Krovi, again, it's just a simple power switch. You gotta defend 3 Groff modules to get to Pack-a-Punch. Pretty simple. And for Revelations, you just gotta basically do the same thing as Origins, where you just go around the map, stand on the platform for 10 seconds until it finishes, and trap the Apothicon in the middle. All of those, besides maybe Zetsubo, a first-time player could do, without a doubt. I mean, if you need a guide to tell you how to turn on the power on the Giant or Horizon Drac, I don't know what to tell you, man. You say that Black Ops 3 isn't accessible to new to casual players, and then you turn right back around and say it's easily outclassed by Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4 is way less casual friendly than BO3 is. Black Ops 3 is so much more casual friendly than BO4. Like, it's not even close. I love Black Ops 4, but that's one of the reasons I love Black Ops 4, is because the game is catered towards hardcore players like myself. Especially with like Easter eggs and stuff. So while you could have a bunch of legitimate complaints about BO3, you saying it's overrated because it takes up too much storage and it's not as accessible as like a Black Ops 4, I just feel like those talking points don't work. I'm sorry. Channel member Nuke Man says, Transit has the most zombies-esque feel and aura to it out of any zombies map. The setting and the story behind the map and how it came to be are the spookiest there is. I firmly believe Transit will also go down as one of the greatest maps in history. Bonus hot take, Victus is also the best crew. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of hot take in here. Let me tell you what I do agree with first. Transit does have a killer vibe. It really does feel like you're like playing through a horror game. You feel so lonely and stranded and helpless, and you have all the terrifying ambience, even like when you're in round 2 in the diner just trying to hit the box. You'll hear random boards creaking and lightning striking everywhere and lava popping, and if you go in the fog you hear the shrieks of the denizens. Oh, it is so unnerving. But with that being said, Transit having an awesome atmosphere is about all I got going for it, to be honest. If only we could have got Transit's atmosphere with like an actual good zombies map, with not a bunch of infuriating changes, and Transit was on a game that was not very limited on its current hardware, Transit could have been great. It could have been. And it could have reached the full potential of what they were trying to achieve with it if they just changed a few things, and also if they were making this like a couple years in the future. Like if they were trying to make this exact map on BO3's game engine, it would be a night and day difference. No pun intended. Transit is like, it's like Black Ops 4. Transit had the perfect storm of stuff to keep going wrong, to make the map, dare I say, unbearable. That'll piss off a couple Transit fans watching this, but the map sucks. Matey, I think, says 5 is better than Kino. 5's challenge, the crew, and especially the Pentagon Thief makes it one of the best maps in BO1 to come back to. Yeah, 5 is better than Kino. It's a lot better than Kino. Kino was the first zombies map I ever played, but I can't go back and play it anymore. I can maybe play it once a year, but I can't even tell you when the last time I played Kino was. BO1 or BO3. Whereas 5, like you say, it's challenging. It has something to keep you coming back. It's not just turn your brain off, hit the box, get the thunder gun, and win. You have to think about how you're going to play the early game. You have to think about what you're going to do in the first Pentagon Thief round. Do you want to try and get the bonfire sale? How are you going to do that? Should you get double tap first or Juggernog? And like you say, the crew, oh man. The crew on 5 is one of the best crews of all time. An awesome crew to fit an awesome map, a map that is way better than Kino. Michael says, just killing zombies stopped being fun after I grew up. That's why I don't like early zombies anymore. I much prefer fleshed out quests that end the game upon completion. As someone that grew up playing BO1, BO2, and a decent amount of World at War, those games just aren't fun for me anymore, for the most part. I mean, you do have a couple maps in there like World at War Derice, World at War Varuk, Call of the Dead, 5. There are a couple maps in those games that I still like going back to, but for the most part, I don't see myself going back to the older games. I'm like you, I much prefer playing Easter eggs, and difficult Easter eggs, stuff that isn't just stand on a platform for 2 minutes and use lunar landers at 4 locations or whatever. It's part of the reason why I prefer Blood of the Dead over Mob of the Dead. It's because Blood of the Dead, even if you don't like the quest, it's still a difficult quest that you can do in solo and co-op, whereas Mob of the Dead is just a co-op only Easter egg that's flying to Pack-a-Punch 3 times and inserting some numbers in the control panel and listening to dialogue. But you saying you prefer fleshed out quests that end the game upon completion? No. That needs to stop, and thankfully it is. Kevin Drew already confirmed that the main quest will not end your game in BO6, which is how they should be. You can still have a very impactful Easter egg that doesn't end the game. Look at Moon, look at Horizon Drac, Gorod Crovey. But every map since Revelations has ended the game upon completion. And it's the dumbest thing ever. I really don't understand why they started doing that. Slime Lime says, Infinite Warfare Zombies is one of the best zombies experiences. Not only is the super Easter egg rewarding, but the Mephistopheles boss fight is the most intense boss fight in zombies history. Also, I love the aura the maps have. Silly and fun, but it feels like zombies. To respond to your last part first, I love the vibes of the map too. Spaceland feels amazing. Rave, oh my god. Rave is just beautiful. One of the best looking maps of all time. It's a shame you can't really go into Rave mode past round 10 without needing to use a Smiley Wonder Weapon. The Cheeks Wonder Weapon. Shaolin Shuffle, I mean, whatever. It looks cool, like, they hit the theme that they were going for. but I'm just not a big fan of it. I love how Attack feels. Attack is just vibes to the max. A 50s diner and motel with Elvira and a cheesy ass Krog destroying everything. Oh my god. It's just cheesy 50s vibes, and it's awesome. And Beast from Beyond looks amazing. Both the theater part and like the outside part by the Pack-a-Punch machine and everything. Or I think, I forget, is it Jupiter? We're on one of the moons of Jupiter? I don't remember, but yeah, they all look great. And Mephistopheles, hands down, it's the single best boss fight ever made in zombies. I doubt it'll be topped. Who knows, maybe they're cooking something with BO6. I'm not really expecting it though, but it's the hardest boss fight ever, and also it's the best boss fight ever. Peter says, Revelations has the worst Easter egg in BO3 solely because it has steps that heavily push on using Mega Gobblegums. Need an Apothecon servant and Little Arnie's? Use Immolation to bypass starting those steps in a high round, or also requiring cashbacks and raindrops to do the Little Arnie step quicker. It just sucks because some people may not like using Megas, or at the same time may not have them to do the steps. Also, RNG steps like that really suck. You're kinda right and kinda wrong. You can say Revelations has the worst Easter egg in BO3, but I don't think it's because they push you to use Megas. Just about every single Easter egg in this game pushes you to use Megas. Shadows of Evil, the flag step. How were you supposed to beat it on launch? Killing Time. Horizon Track had a really hard boss fight at the time, with a boatload of panzers. How do you beat it? Head Drama, the DLC one Gobblegum. And in Garage Curvy, they wanted you to use either Undead Man Walking or a Fatal Contraption. I just think a lot of people think this Easter egg sucks because it has some really stupid steps in it. Like, the Arnie step is pretty dumb. And you are right to an extent where using cashbacks or raindrops will make it quicker, but I don't think that's what they had in mind. I just think they were trying to make it really hard for people to do. Why do I think that? Well, because the next step requires you to look across the map and shoot 6 rocks and shoot them up with your Apothecon servant. It's not because they tried to push you to use Megas, it's because of how the steps were made to begin with. And also, Revelations recycling Shadow's boss fight has nothing to do with them pushing Mega Gums. But yeah, sometimes RNG does suck in a zombies map, like what we talked about earlier. Origins. Channel member Jabot says, Shadow's Easter egg sucks because it's a giant fuck you to the solo players. Every step can be completed by one person except for the final one. And then he says, super hot take, people shouldn't stream late at night. Yeah, people shouldn't stream late at night. I don't know what people would stream late at night for. Shame on them. If you stream after like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., I don't know what you're doing. That was a joke directed at myself. I really don't get what they were doing with that. Like, were they trolling? Because it really doesn't make any sense why they'd allow you to do the entire Easter egg up to the last step in solo, but stop the gate worm from spawning because you don't have 4 players. It's so lame. Like, they could have very easily made it to where in solo you shock all 3 rails in the beast mode, and then you call the tram and go back in beast mode and shock the keepers. It was right there, and they fumbled it. And this always has been my biggest gripe with Shadows of Evil. It's my favorite map of all time, but this is the only thing in it that I cannot stand. Channel member Nick says, Shangri-La is a very good zombies map, mainly due to the baby gun and the environment. I don't know if I'd say it's a very good zombies map, but it's definitely a good zombies map. I think Shang is a lot of fun, probably because it's really challenging. So when I do play it, I'm not getting bored out of my mind in the first 10 minutes like I am on like Kino or Ascension. Yeah, the baby gun is awesome. The environment's awesome. It's the second best looking map of all time. It's just, or at least on BO3 anyway. It's just, and Shangri-La is one of 3 maps in this game where I like the boss enemy. I like the Napalm Zombie and the Shrieker. I like them both. Then the other ones I like the Pentagon Thief, obviously. And I like George. I do. I think he's different. I think he's cool. But that's besides the point. I think the Napalm Zombie and the Shrieker both fit this map perfectly. And I feel like they aren't too overpowered. Like, the Shrieker can be really annoying sometimes, but like the Napalm Zombie, dude, I love the Napalm Zombie, especially when I'm going for high rounds. I see a Napalm Zombie coming up, like, in the training spot to the left of the spawn. It's awesome, because I can shoot him and kill him, and the fire will kill the zombies that walk through it for the next 30 seconds. So it's basically like a trap. But yeah, Shangri-La, it's a great map. Oculus says, Advanced Warfare, for all its flaws, is a great, fun, and unique experience. They tried something different, and whilst to some it was deemed a failure, to myself and a lot of others in the community, it provided something new in style. I definitely agree. This is a hot take, for sure. I'm kind of weird because I like Advanced Warfare's campaign, and I loved Advanced Warfare's multiplayer. I found it so much fun back in the day. I was pretty much a sweat without knowing I was a sweat. I wasn't paying too much attention to like MLG or nothing back then, but me and all my friends had like a 3 KD. We took the multiplayer way too seriously. I miss being 14 with no responsibilities. But for the zombies, I don't know. I go back and forth with this game mode. Sometimes I'll like it, sometimes I won't, sometimes I'll love it, sometimes I'll hate it. It really depends on just how my last game mode went. But I think I can speak for everybody watching this video and everyone else in the COD community. Call of Duty, if you're watching this video, we want a W2. Make it happen. Channel member Better Than Starlight says, if the Darkest Shore didn't have a damned manscaped razor as a wonder weapon, what? And something actually good, it would be an A tier map. No, it would not. That map is flawed from the ground up. The fog is way too bad, and they have a boss that spawns in the fog, and only in the fog, because that makes sense. The Easter egg is a damn mess. People think Blood of the Dead has the bad Easter egg and a complicated Easter egg with steps that never work. Go play the Darkest Shores. Go do that stupid U-boat pen step on solo. Go do the stupid moisture step on solo. Have fun running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth everywhere. Have fun trying to kill 2 boss enemies melee only to maybe get a charged spawn. You could go through all the work of trying to kill a moisture with the saw to get the charged spawn, and it doesn't give you the charged spawn. That right there is one of the dumbest things I have ever seen in a zombies map ever. I need to calm down. Thank you, Starlight, for mentioning the Darkest Shore. Dr. Dover Queen says Classified is way more fun and replayable than 5. Now, we were just talking about this, how 5 is a better map than Kino. I also think that 5 is a better map than Classified. Classified's just missing something. And it's not the creepiness of 5, and it's not just because they took out the Pentagon Thief either. Classified's just missing something. I think it's because 5's map layout doesn't really work with BO4's health system and perk system, because having no boss enemies on that map and having an infinite damage wonder weapon, and a lot of the really tight CQC areas from 5 were made a little bit bigger in BO4 so that 2 player-sized hitboxes could go through at once. I think a combination of all of those things, plus a couple more, made Classified a snooze fest. At least in my opinion. And the final hot take in this video comes from Ian, and he says, Carpenter being removed from BO6 was honestly a good change. It's been the most useless power-up for a long time now, and I can't remember the last time I built a barrier. And when they are barricaded, it just slows the game down. The next change they need to do is make nukes give you a certain amount of points per zombie killed, so it's not an automatic avoidance. Anyone that disagrees can fight me. Well, I do not disagree with you, so we don't have to fight. I do think it's a good thing that Carpenter was removed, because while I don't see anything wrong with keeping barriers in a game, having Carpenters in BO1, BO2, and especially BO3, it was by far the worst power-up in the game. And even in BO4, where they changed it to where it replenishes your shield health, that is a good change, but I mean, I feel like at that point they could have just made an entirely new drop instead of adding the Carpenter, but better late than never, I guess. They did finally change it in BO6. They swapped the Carpenter drop with the max armor drop, which, I mean, it makes a lot more sense. Max armor, what does it do? Gives you max armor. In BO4, if you grabbed a Carpenter, you wouldn't know it repaired your shield unless you either A, were told ahead of time, or B, just happened to look at your shield health when you picked one up. And also, I like your nuke change. Just making it like 25 points per zombie killed with the nuke. I think that'd be really cool. But if you tune that up too much, then you run the risk of nukes being too overpowered in the early rounds. And if you're constantly looking for nukes to take out the zombies for you, then, I mean, you're not really playing zombies at that point, you know? But BO6 as a whole, it has made some really good changes, and I can't wait to see how this game plays come October 25th. By the way, if you guys are also excited for BO6, make sure you're ready, because we're going to be pumping out content like crazy once this game comes out. And the final video we'll be watching in this Hot Takes Marathon is the video I just released around 2 weeks ago, and it's pretty funny looking at the other BO6 video from 5 months ago. It's titled BO6 Zombies Will Fail, and this one is titled BO6 Zombies is the best zombies game already. I find it absolutely hilarious how most of us weren't expecting too much from this game, but now that we've had our hands on it for around a month and a half, most of us are just glazing it at every opportunity. So what exactly does the community think about BO6 so far? Well, here's the video so you can watch it. Make sure you enjoy it, because this is the final episode in the COD Zombies Hot Takes Marathon. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Or if this is after Thanksgiving, which it probably is, happy Thanksgiving weekend. Or for all of you non-Americans out there, happy double XP weekend on Black Ops 6 Zombies. There's double XP, double weapon XP, double gobble gum, you name it. It's a triple double weekend, and it'll last from Wednesday to Monday. So if you're liking BO6, which I'm guessing you are since you're watching this video, make sure you're grinding this weekend while you're watching this video. A couple weeks ago, I put a post on my community page asking you to comment your hottest BO6 Zombies take to be in a video, and as per normal, we got a bunch of responses. Won't get to all of them in this video, but we got got about 15 hot takes in here, and they're all pretty spicy, so if you enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like. The first hot take is from Rampage, and he says, Liberty Falls is actually a nice looking map. A West Virginia 90s themed town set in the middle of the day serves as a nice contrast to Terminus's island fortress prison / laboratory set in a stormy night. It's made for casuals, and it's not as complex as the other maps, which is why I love it. Sometimes I just want to relax and get straight to killing zombies instead of having to do a bunch of quests and able to get set up. I like to think of it as BO6's equivalent of town from BO2. I agree with this. This is a hot take, but I do agree with this. I actually really enjoy Liberty Falls. Like, when I first watched the trailer when they first revealed it at, what was it, COD Next or whatever, like in August, I'm gonna be honest, it took away a lot of the hype I had for BO6. After we saw the Terminus trailer and everything, or let me go back even further than that. After Cold War, during Vanguard and Modern Warfare Zombies, I was like, yeah, it's starting to look like this game, this franchise, starting to look like it's kind of cooked. Might have to just stick to the oldies. But then we saw Terminus, and I was like, okay, zombies is so back. This looks incredible. And then we saw Liberty Falls, and I was like, okay, Terminus still looks pretty cool, but I mean, Liberty Falls looks like a modern zombies map, and you know what I mean by that. Where it was just a town set in a bright day with recycled boss enemies, recycled wonder weapons. I just was not feeling it. But as soon as I hopped in, I was hooked. I can stand before you today, or I guess sit before you, and say, I love Liberty Falls. You're right, it's not some super complex map, and it's not supposed to be either. It's just a map you can hop on every once in a while, turn your brain off, grind some camos, or just kill zombies, whatever you want to do. And then if you're playing it and then you decide you want to do something, you have the main quest, which is fine, I guess, for a casual map, but you also have like 15 different side quests, and they're all really fun to do. None of them have really annoying steps. The jet gun is so much better than it was in BO2. It's not even, like, it's not even close. Not only is this one infinite damage, but it also doesn't take 15 minutes of running in fog to build, and it doesn't break if you use it for 5 seconds. It's insane. And with how the map looks in general, I think it looks pretty nice. When I was watching the trailer and the sun was casting directly over the map, it was just too bright. I'm sorry, it was. But now that the sun's not as apparent and it's more overcast than anything else, I actually really do enjoy the setting. The only thing about this map that I don't really like is the fact that the boss enemies are just recycled from previous games. The Abomination is recycled from Forsaken, and in Forsaken it was a redesign of the Margwa from BO3. And of course we have the Manglers, which have been in Garad Crovey, Firebase Z, Malrider Toten, Outbreak, Forsaken, and now the 2 launch maps in BO6. That's like the only bad thing about this map that I think is holding it back, is that the boss enemies are just recycled, and to be honest, I wasn't too big a fan of them when they first were introduced into zombies 5-10 years ago. So if I could change that, that'd be great, but as it stands, Liberty Falls is like BO6's town. I'm predicting this map will be popular forever because, like you said, you don't have to do quests, you just turn your brain off and kill zombies, and as BO1 fans will tell you, that's all zombies has to be, is like theater map. The next hot take is from Knuckles, and this one kind of ties into the one we were just talking about. He says, Liberty Falls and Terminus are the best launch maps we have ever gotten. While Shadows remains my personal favorite map of all time, these two play exceptionally well and are a good balance between fun and difficult, which is not something I can say for the other launch maps we've seen in the series. While I don't entirely agree with this, you do have a good point. Terminus and Liberty Falls do balance each other out really well, and they know what they're going for and they achieve it perfectly. Is this the best launch in Zombies history? Probably yes. But are Terminus and Liberty Falls my 2 favorite launch maps ever? No. Honestly, it's not even close. I mean, I love both maps, but I'd rather play Shadows of Evil over it. I'd rather play Zombies in Spaceland over it from Infinite Warfare. I'd rather play Blood of the Dead over it. And then I would probably slot Terminus and Liberty Falls in my launch map ranking, probably below those 3. So my top 5 would go Shadows, Blood, Spaceland, Terminus, and Liberty Falls. 100% though, this is a fantastic launch, and it's only gonna get better because we have a new Zombies map coming out in, what is it, 9 days from today? 8 days from today, from the time I'm recording this. And we've barely had these maps for a month, and it's not like these maps are just like bare bones multiplayer maps that you just hop in like once every 3 weeks and kill zombies for 20 minutes and then you're bored. I have been playing this game pretty much non-stop since it came out. Or not just playing it, making content, editing, thumbnails. My life has basically revolved around Black Ops 6 for the past month, and I'm still nowhere even close to getting all the videos I wanted to get done, or all the streams. I barely even started Nebula Camo, and DLC 1 is around the corner. Like, oh my god, there is just so much stuff to do in this game, and so much stuff to cover. It is so amazing. Thank you, Treyarch, for creating a game with a ton of replayability once again. The next hot take is from Red Taylor's version Zombies, and she says the Beam Smasher Wonder Weapon is totally useless and overrated. It does little damage even with the slowdown damage bonus. The fact it doesn't have any penetration is just absurd. Now, I do agree with this. I do think the Beam Smasher does suck, but that is when you use it as a weapon to kill. If you pair this weapon with the ASG or the GS45, you can just tap the off fire near a boss enemy and then pull out your secondary weapon, and thanks to that damage buff, you'll delete the boss enemy so fast. I said this in a video like a week ago. This wonder weapon is like 2 different weapons in my opinion. If you're using it to kill zombies, it sucks. It's one of the worst wonder weapons of all time. But if you're just utilizing its alt fire and using it to kill the zombies with other guns, I would argue it's one of the best in zombies history. Like if you compare it side by side, you will see that the Beam Smasher alt fire, when you combine it with a red gun, makes it so much better it's not even funny. So try this out in your game and I guarantee you'll like it more. Yes, it's kind of dumb that you can't really kill with it and they call it a wonder weapon, but it's definitely not useless. The next hot take is from Crimson and he says, most of the Warzone mechanics actually work pretty well in this game. I think the majority of people just hate on it because it's not classic. Yet again, I agree with this. I think a lot of the quote-unquote Warzone mechanics work in this game too. Stuff like the score streaks and the weapon rarities and the loot boxes everywhere and the manual plating, just stuff like that. I really didn't like the majority of this in Cold War, even though manual plating wasn't in Cold War. The other stuff I didn't like. I thought they were hindrances to the zombies game mode, and I thought they had to take them out or else every single subsequent game would suck. But I was pleasantly surprised because it turns out that they balanced all of these mechanics that I didn't like in previous games and just slightly changed them. So now I think they actually work pretty well in the game. Like I said, manual plating wasn't a thing in Cold War, but the guns are weak enough in BO6 to where I don't feel like I just have unlimited ammo at my disposal. Even though I technically do, with all the ammo boxes placed everywhere, I still don't feel like I can just keep going up and buying ammo over and over and over again because points are so much more crucial in BO6. The weapon rarities, same thing. If you guys have watched my channel for any amount of time, you heard me talk about Cold War, you guys know that I could not stand the fact that you could load in with a gray rarity Gallo or a gray rarity Hauer, Street Sweeper, basically any shotgun, and it would carry you to at least round 10 before you even had to think about upgrading it. And when you could load in with a shotgun and be completely fine for the first 10 rounds, why on earth would you load in with a pistol or an SMG or anything besides a shotgun? Once again, they took this out of BO6. The shotguns are still pretty good to start out with, but now if you keep your gray rarity unpacked ASG, by the time you hit even like round 5 or round 6, it will really start to drop off and you'll have to get another weapon. Even though they kept a lot of the mechanics in Cold War that I did not like, they improved them to where now, I think they should be in zombies. I do. That'll probably get me crucified in the comments. Hunter says, this is the healthiest the zombies community has been since BO3 Chronicles. This isn't really a hot take, but yeah, you're kind of right on this. You know, you don't really think about this, but ever since Chronicles, the community's just gotten their hopes up really high, and then whether it was because we got our hopes up too high, or in like a Vanguard and Modern Warfare Zombies case, Treyarch just didn't give us what we wanted. The community hasn't been this excited since, like you said, Zombies Chronicles. And it's crazy to think just how successful this launch was, and they're already starting with the DLC season. They are not playing around in this game. The next hot take ties into the previous one, and it's from Joshua, and he says, I like how so many of these quote-unquote hot takes are really positive and optimistic. With how divisive and toxic this community was leading up to the game's launch, I suppose trying to find the good in things would be considered hot takes. Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. Like we talked about earlier in this video, we went on a roller coaster of emotions leading up to this game releasing. We saw Terminus, we thought it looked great, then we saw Liberty Falls, and I was like, I don't know. But now that this game's out and we finally got our hands on it, it's really nice to see that this game is basically getting universal praise. You know, you still have like your 35-year-old BO1 fans that can't let go of the past, and you also got all your Blundell fanboys that think every single game has to be BO3 2.0. You have those people that just can't let go of the past and accept zombies has moved on, but for most of us who like different experiences in zombies, BO6 is really fun for all of us. My man Sandman is back with a hot take, and he says, Liberty Falls is a top 10 zombies map of all time. Great layout, decent Easter egg, and the jet gun is amazing. Okay, it does have a great layout and a decent Easter egg, and the jet gun is a lot of fun to use, but top 10 of all time? I guess I shouldn't be surprised. This is the same person that had 9 in his F tier, so you, Sandman, my friend, have some extraordinary hot takes. Channel member Jin Dokkan Champion says, Black Ops 6 Zombies has been an amazing experience, and it's one of the best I think we've gotten in a very long time, especially since people are still finding out stuff in the 2 maps we have so far, shows that Zombies is truly back. I was extremely happy to get more songs by Kevin Sherwood. Now, last part first. It is nice to see Kevin Sherwood back, but I'm not a big fan of the Easter egg songs in BO6, especially Terminus's. Like, Terminus song is so light and so melodic. I was kind of hoping for something a lot heavier, you know, since it's like, and we're stranded on an island with all these disgusting enemies and all these horrifying scientist experiments. I thought we was gonna get a heavier song for Terminus, but Liberty Falls is fine. Terminus though, wish it was heavier. But yeah, BO6 Zombies so far has been an amazing experience, and the fact that we are still finding side quests to do really shows how much time and effort they put into these maps. This isn't like Cold War where we found literally everything the map had to do within the first 48 hours of it releasing. We are over a month post-launch and we are still finding new Easter eggs. Like, did you guys know in that crab Easter egg, not only can you do the whack-a-mole for a free perk, but you can also do it for salvage and free points? I knew that Easter egg existed for like 3 weeks, and I just found out there were 2 extra whack-a-mole stations like a week ago. Cody says, BO6 Zombies feels like the most natural evolution and culmination of all prior Zombies games. I think the gameplay is the best out of every prior Zombies game, including BO3. The launch maps are excellent, but if we can receive multiple quality DLCs and possibly a Zombies Chronicles 2, BO6 would hands down be the best Zombies game to date in my eyes. Yeah, I completely agree with this. The launch so far has been excellent, and the gameplay itself is phenomenal. It really does feel like they took the best parts of BO3, the best parts of BO4, and the best parts of Cold War and just mashed them all together to create one fun sandbox experience to keep you coming back over and over and over again. But yes, if we can get multiple really good DLCs with really fun Easter eggs, good enemies, good wonder weapons, and a good story, and also get a Zombies Chronicles 2, then yeah, I think you're right. This does go down as hands down the best Zombies game ever. Axo Lover says, I personally enjoy the Manglers. I feel like they give a nice challenge to the maps and give unique gameplay that you wouldn't see from the other tank bosses. Sure, they are overused, but out of any boss that could have been overused, I'm happy it was the Mangler, not something like the Mimic. Oh god. Yeah, if they reused the Mimic on every map in this game, oh god. Oh, this game would be so cooked. If you know me, you know how I feel about the Mimic. Or even if you don't know me, I'm pretty sure I just inferred a good enough opinion. But I'm not a big fan of the Mangler. I said this, I forget what hot take earlier in this video, but not only am I not a big fan of the Mangler himself, but I'm also not a big fan of them reusing boss enemies. Like, if you're gonna do it for like a DLC 4 or something, where you're like trying to hit the nostalgia bone or something, that makes sense. But I don't think the Mangler should be on every single map in this game. And we're gonna jump over to the next hot take because this also has to do with the Manglers, and it's from Ballin420, and he says, the Mangler spam is basically fine. It makes the game very hard in the later rounds, and you need to stay focused to make sure you don't get demolished. I do think there should be a bit of a nerf with how many can be in the map at once, but besides that, I find the high abundance of Manglers to be pretty good. This is definitely a hot take, and I completely disagree with it. I don't get the point of spamming Manglers. I really don't. If you ask me, it really messes up the flow of high rounds. Like, when I get in the flow of things and I'm just killing zombies, vibing, I just want to kill zombies. I don't want to have to kill zombies for 2 minutes and then go run around the map for 2 minutes looking for Manglers and kill 15 of them with my red guns before advancing the round. I should not have to do that every single round. I think the Manglers spawn way too often. And I know what you're about to say. If they took away all the Mangler spam, then BO6 high rounds would be free. Well, I'm struggling to understand why they can't just make the rounds, I don't know, longer. Why can't they just add more zombies to the round? Why can't, instead of on round 50, 100 zombies spawning, why can't 400 zombies spawn? That would increase the difficulty of the game, and it wouldn't completely halt the momentum of your game at the end of every single round. And you say it makes the game very hard in the later rounds? I don't even see that really, because at least on Terminus, you use the Beam Smasher in the GS45s or the Beam Smasher in the Beam Smasher in anything really. You'll be able to take out the Mangler so fast. Now, if you're not using a Beam Smasher, then that's another story, but with the Beam Smasher, it doesn't add any more difficulty, and if anything, it makes BO6 high rounds worse. Akamex says, or Akamex, sorry. They say, Melee Macchiato is an underrated perk. Use it while getting the knife and the baseball bat opal. Oh god, I just realized I have to get the baseball bat opal. Oh god, help me. Never had more fun one-tapping zombies and Manglers late round when maxed. Melee Macchiato was a lot like Ethereal Razor from BO4. If you like stabbing zombies and you want to do that as your high round strat or as your main way of killing, then that perk is for you, but for people that don't like stabbing, this perk leaves a bit to be desired. I'm glad you're liking it though. The more variety we have, the more playstyles we have, and the more playstyles we have, the more players we have. So, if you like using Melee Macchiato, Akamex, enjoy it, my man. KKPTQ says, Liberty Falls is more fun than Terminus. I like both, but for some reason, I've enjoyed Liberty Falls more. Probably because the jet gun is so much fun to use. Yeah, the jet gun is a lot of fun to use. Definitely more fun to use than a Beam Smasher, at least when you're not using the alt fire. Yeah, like I said, I love BO6 Zombies, I love both maps so far, but if I had to pick one over the other, for a while there, I was saying I prefer Liberty Falls over Terminus, but Terminus Easter egg is just so much better than Liberty Falls. Falls. I think that's what's gonna tip it over the edge for me. Yeah, if you take out the Easter eggs, these maps are pretty much neck and neck for me in terms of which one I like more. Which, can I just say how awesome it is for me to have a survival map that I love again? What's it been? 9 years since the last one? That's disgusting. And the final hot take in this video is from Victor, and he says the only reason people like Liberty Falls is because of its size and its unique zipline feature. Any 15-year-old kid could have done a similar good job with a BO6 map editor while not missing the zombies vibe. I disagree. I think this map has a pretty nice zombies vibe. Just because it takes place in the daytime does not mean it's missing the zombies vibe. A map can take place in the daytime and still hit that theme. I mean, like, there are bodies everywhere, there are zombies everywhere, just like laid out across the streets. There is blood everywhere in this map. And even if you don't like the atmosphere of the main map, you still have the atmosphere inside the church, which you cannot deny. That does nail the zombies atmosphere. I'm gonna agree to disagree for the most part with your comment, but you saying its unique zipline feature, did you play Cold War? Because this is far from the first time we have seen ziplines and zombies, my friend. And with that funny note, we're gonna end the video here. So there was the Hot Takes Marathon. Which episode was your favorite? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, I have a couple more videos that wasn't included in this marathon, so if you guys want to see another Hot Takes Marathon, then feel free to let me know down below in the comments. Huge shout out to my members for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. If you want to become a member and get access to members only videos, members only badges, guaranteed to be in these hot take videos and more, you can do so by clicking the top link in the description or the join button below this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.